as they took 2 out of 3 in Oakland, led by the grand slam 10th inning that ended game number 3. The road trip continues. Tonight, it's Anaheim. The Angels, like the Orioles, vying for a wild card spot at the moment. This is the second meeting for these two teams. Angels, Orioles, Big A next. It's the Orioles on Masson, and we welcome you. The West Coast, the Orioles stay, and now it's the Angels. This is the second meeting this season. The Angels took 2 out of 3 at Camden Yards earlier this year. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Thorne, and welcome to ball clubs who are looking to make the playoffs. If they can't, well, reach that division title, they sure would like a wild card berth, and they both are well within shooting distance of that. All kinds of baseball measurements, time periods, one of which is how you doing after the All-Star break, which is considered the midpoint of the Major League season. Well, here's how they're doing in the American League, and there are a couple of surprises. You take a look at the best of the American League in runs, it's the Yankees. You see their total. Texas, second. White Sox are third. The Orioles, they rank 7th. In OPS, it's the Yankees again. What an offensive show they're putting on. Then Toronto and Houston, the O's are ranked 8th. ERA, who would believe the Blue Jays would ever be number 1 in that, but they are since the break with Houston and the Angels ranked 3rd. The Orioles are 4th. And in wins, Yankees and Toronto have put the most of them up with 13. The Orioles are tied for 5th with 11. So that's how they're doing so far, Jim, since the All-Star break, and now it's push time.
Really is. And, you know, for the Orioles, how are you going to push it? You come on a West Coast trip, 9 games, 10 days. You're not good on the road trips, 21 wins, 31 losses going into Oakland. You win 2 out of 3. You lose, as you mentioned, 2 out of the first 3 against the Angels, and now you come to Anaheim. So, again, I got to think that the Orioles think they're a better team, at least offensively. Parr comes over at the break. They've been looking for a left fielder all the way back to April. And then they get Junior Lake. We're going to see him, his first chance having an opportunity to start the Oriole starting lineup, so maybe we'll get some more offense there. But at the end of the day, how do you pitch? Nobody plays defense better, and you just got to do those things. Win. I think the key to them, Gary, really is getting over 500. They're only, 3 games over 500. They got to get up into 15, 16 game territory.
And with Junior Lake now joining the ball club, he's going to be the DH. Travis Snyder is gone, so they hoped he was going to fill that spot. It didn't work out.
Yeah, it's funny. He had such a good year last year. You figured he'd be the guy that would replace Nick Markakis. Their wins above replacement were almost equal, but he didn't have the track record that Nick Markakis comes back over the American League. They gave him every kind of chance, just unable to get it done. So wish him well.
Yep, and we'll wish Lake well as he takes on the DH role in tonight's game. When we come back, it's the Orioles and the Angels on a beautiful, need we say that, summer evening here in Anaheim. It is indeed a glorious evening here in Anaheim. Take a look at our BGE home game time temperature. A comfortable 75 degrees. Lots of blue skies around. BGE Home, Baltimore's home team for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Why would you call anyone else? Players have come off the beach and are ready to play, including the newest member of the Orioles, Junior Lake.
Yeah, you know, of course, yesterday probably not as nice as it is today. Maybe some rain showers, so I'm not sure how many people not even went to the beach. Maybe hung 10, as they say. Some of our guys on surfboards.
Somehow in the contract there's language about that, but what the heck. All right, let's take a look at the old starting lineup brought to you by Southwest. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Manny Machado, Parra, and then Jones, Davis, Wieters, and Hardy. Scope. Lake gets the start as DH, and Reimold making his Orioles debut, the 1,001st player in club history.
And then Andrew Heaney started the year at Salt Lake City. He was part of the huge trade they made. Actually, Howie Kendricks, I think he's a Dodger for about 5 hours. Tweeted him, thanks for being part of your storied franchise. Sorry I couldn't be part of this year. But you can look at the numbers. He makes it very simple. You know, he's a 3-pitch pitcher, throws a lot of strikes. And as it turns out, this will be his 8th start of the year. Doesn't throw a lot of home runs. Don't do a lot of running on them. And the other thing is they score a lot of runs. And in every game, 2 runs or less. And the only time he's lost, that was playing the Dodgers. Interleague Baseball, Clayton Kershaw outpitched him.
He has just turned 24 years old, out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And they really like him and they expect him to be a part of this rotation for a long time to come. Started the year out here, but he was not ready to pitch at the major league level. Mechanical problems. They sent him down, let him struggle for a while, and then said, you know something? You really shouldn't be throwing across your body like that. And so he stopped, and as a result, he's winning games.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when in spring training, Mike Socia, who manages the Angels, saying, you know, he'd be in the 3rd or 4th inning, Gary, and it was like he's pitching 5 or 6 innings, laboring, and the mechanical where you throw across your body, you really, I mean, if you're left-handed, you step way to the right, and then it's hard to get your arm out in front. You know, they're very blessed to have Marcel Latchman, who was a pitching coach for years down in the minor leagues. So they did the fine-tuning. Mike Butcher's done a great job up here. All of a sudden, he comes back up, and I mean, not a lot of things he doesn't give you a chance to win every time out.
Completely different pitcher.
Take a look at the defense for the Angels. This is a pitcher's part. Their ERA a little over 3 runs a game. De Jesus came over from Tampa. Trout, Calhoun. Gillespie came over from the White Sox. Ibar Giovatelli last year with Kansas City. Pujols, not only a great hitter, but he's also won some Gold Gloves. And then Ionetta Chris doing the catching tonight.
And we are ready to go in the middle series of this road trip for the Orioles. Taking 2 out of 3 in Oakland, 3 here, and then on up to Seattle. Manny Machado, 3-game hit streak stands in, pitches in there for a strike, and we are underway. The Orioles against left-handers have gone 15-10, a good mark. Average against lefties, righties, almost exactly the same, around the 257, 256 mark. So that hasn't varied much, and actually they've picked up their numbers against left-handers as the season has gone along. Machado waiting on the 1-1. Manny will go with that and foul it back. Second deck, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, in and out, a little change up, curveball or breaking ball to slide. Kind of described somewhere in between.
It's that slider that Mike Socia said has really made him a much different pitcher, along with the delivery. That one he got in on the fist going to center, and it'll fall in for a base hit. Trout started as though he might have a play on it, but really didn't get a very good break on the big swing, so Manny's on with a base hit.
Yeah, the other thing about Mike Trout, I mean, he's a very good defender, but he plays deep. So if you don't get a good jump, and then again it is twilight out here, so big swing, a little back step or drop step as they call it for outfielders.
So Manny is on. The Orioles get the leadoff man on base against Heaney, and that will bring Parra up. secured in the #2 spot since coming over with the Orioles, and has done a job of getting in. He has scored 5 runs in the 5 games he's played. Looking for his first RBI, got a double among the 5 hits that he has picked up, and he will take the pitch for a strike. We get a look at Parra against the left-hander. This will be the 7th at bat since joining the Orioles that he's had against a left-hander, looking for his first hit off a lefty with the O's.
It's a nice month there. Rookie of the year, or of the month, 4-0.
At the strike in at the knees, and you're going to see that from Phil Cuzzi, the home plate umpire. He has a strike zone that is favorable to pitchers, has always been that way, and to a pretty good extreme. So you better come up swinging. There'll be strikes called that the hitters are going to be turning around and taking a little cross-eyed look back at the home plate umpire. Pitch on the way is in the dirt. Good stop made Iannetta.
Yeah, the other thing is Heaney, I mean, it really doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed. Lefties hit him at 206. Righties at 204. As we mentioned, only 3 home runs. And again, lefties hitting 1 of those, righties 2.
He's been outstanding here at home. 3-0. He hasn't lost a game here. ERA can be up a little bit because of all the runs that he gets, especially in games started here at home.
But it isn't.
But it isn't.
That's the great thing about it. Again, when you come to the big leagues, turn 24, very much like Kevin Gausman, going to pitch for the Orioles. Both of Heaney and Kevin turning 24 this summer, both #1 draft choices. Heaney out of Oklahoma State. Born and grew up in Oklahoma. There is Mike Scioscia.
Scioscia, former catcher, relays the signs to his catcher on the step-offs, throw-overs type things. He wanted a throw-over. You can see how far Heaney is on that first base side of the rubber. When he sets up, he's as far over as you can get, about a half a foot, you see, actually up against the slab. So he's really bearing in on these left-handers. It's got to look like it's coming right at your back numbers. Pitch on the way, and that'll be fouled away by Parra.
And the other thing is, I think that I would imagine if you're left-handed, you're seeing pretty much all the 28, because it makes a nice shoulder turn, hides the ball well. And not only, I mean, that'll hide the ball well for both lefties and righties.
Parra's career numbers: he's .236 against lefties, .291 against right-handers. Career numbers for him. Parra waiting on it, hanging in, slices it off the fist, though, back into the seats for the foul ball, 1-2.
Yeah, it's kind of when you look at Gerardo, he got one of the bigger hits the other day, in the sense that when the Orioles are down 3-1 and they needed runs, when I think about the 5th inning, dropped a bunt down. When the Orioles would come back, they were down 3-1, get a couple of runs, get it into extra innings.
Left-hander's delivery, and that's just fouled off. Hit Iannetta on the foul tip, so he keeps the at-bat alive at 1-2.
Yeah, everything is kind of off the boards. I mean, good breaking ball. See Chris Iannetta reach for it. It's right on the corner. Well, hopefully, Parra hoping to get something a little bit better to hit, because that wasn't one of them.
Lefty came up June 24, back onto the roster to pitch for the Angels. Parra gets that one out, down the line again, and that will be foul. Boy, against Heaney, if you're Parra, I would think you're really trying to get one into left field. Trying to pull him on these pitches away is going to be really tough.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. They gave him a standing ovation the night he joined the Orioles, and what did he do? He hit one down in up and in to right field, but he's had a lot of line drives to left, not a lot of hits. Looks to me, and of course we saw him year before last in Arizona. He can spray the ball pretty well.
Machado, 15 stolen bases, drawing some attention here. He's been caught only 4 times. Iannetta's only thrown out 26%. Parra wants a timeout at the plate. Heaney, of course, making only his 8th start, so he hasn't had a lot of runners against him. 1 for 1 are base stealers. A left-hander with the supposed big advantage all the time of looking right at that runner at first base. Machado not going anywhere. Parra takes it, and that will miss outside. Went back to a spot where Parra fouled off a couple of pitches, and a good eye on it. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Angel team numbers very much like the Orioles in both the pitching hitting department. Orioles have done a little bit better. Runs scored, they are 6th. The Angels are 8th in the American League. And pitching, the Angels are 5th and the Orioles are 6th in ERA. 2 ball, 2 strike count. Machado again not going. Ball will be looped in the air to center, this time a little deeper, and Trout's there.
So nothing but strikes. 13 pitches, 10 of them over the plate. That's kind of what everybody said. I wouldn't call him a finesse lefty because he can throw as hard as 94 or 5 on occasion. But everybody that I talked to said they are impressed because he hits his spots.
Does not fool around with hitters. He will challenge hitters. Gets the out. Here is Adam Jones. Adam coming in with that 282. Real good numbers power wise. RBIs at 51. He's hit the lefties hard all year long. He'll go after an off speed pitch at 84 right there and foul it back. Adam 313 off left-handers, 274 off the righties. Adam had a 4 for 12 in the first series. These teams played in Baltimore. Orioles did not do much offensively. That can be said for a lot of ball clubs against this Angels pitching staff in that particular series in Baltimore. Orioles hit only 163 in the 3 games played. Had 5 runs in 3 games, including 2 home runs. The Angels hit 257 against the Orioles, outscored them 9-5. It was all about pitching. Jones got jammed a little bit, pops it up to first base. Pujols, 2 down. Well, for the Orioles, here's the man leading the charge right now, Chris Davis, and in our notebook, crush is crushing over the last 15. 9 home runs, 26 RBIs. The only others to do that for the Orioles in that short a time span, Gentile, Ripken, and Albert Bell. And Wednesday, with that grand slam in the 10th inning, he joins a select group: Nolan, Harold Baines, Matt Wieters, who has done it twice in picking up 10th inning grand slams.
Yeah, you don't get those kind of RBIs if you're hitting soft singles. I mean, the grand slam, the 3-run home runs, couple of occasion, couple of 2-run shots.
Shift is on against him, and the pitch will come inside. If you go all the way back in Orioles history, Johnny Bernardino is another who had an extra inning grand slam. Brooks Robinson had one in 1970. Tommy Davis had one in 75. The interesting thing is every one of those grand slams was hit in the 10th inning. The Orioles have never had a grand slam in extra innings except the 10th. And they got one from Chris.
Yeah, that grand slam, they get the bases loaded. Adam Jones comes up, pops up. Second baseman Laurie. And then Chris Davis 3-2 had to throw a strike because they had walked the bases loaded. And then a bomb to left center field.
Davis will take the fastball inside corner.
Well, I tell you, it's going to call that pitch. It's going to be a good night for the pitchers.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be if they take advantage of it. 2 ball, 1 strike count on him. Big shift on here. Giovotella, second baseman, out in shallow right field. Pujols a step off the bag holding the runner. Albert holds the bag at first, different than any other first baseman I think playing right now. He does not keep a foot on the bag when the pitch is going to be delivered. He will move a step off, and obviously you can't interfere with the runner. He stays in front of the runner, but he tries to cover that hole a little bit, whereas other first basemen will stay in the bag. He doesn't do that, yet he's close enough to easily take a throw over. Used to be an argument about that. Keith Hernandez used to play down the line 2 or 3 steps and would go back to the bag to take a throw over, and there were arguments about whether or not that was a balk, a fielder's balk,
because he wasn't covering the bag.
Yes. And the off-speed delivery at 81 gets him. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left on base. 2 fine young pitchers will be going at it in this game. Gausman for the Orioles. Of them following the Orioles on this trip, making a vacation out of it to see the Orioles play. Here's the Angel lineup: to Jesus, Calhoun, and Trout, his birthday. Pujols, Murphy, Ibar, Gillespie, Giovatella, and Iannetta. Mike Trout, 32, first in the majors with the long ball.
And Kevin Gausman trying to make it 2 in a row. They scored some runs for him, something they don't very often. A lot of fastballs. And again, the fastball 93 to 98. Breaking balls become a curveball. Change up, 2 of them, a little splitter, and then a change up. So again, they're going to see the numbers, and maybe a little aberrational at home in a road. Not very high averages. That left-handed batting average was up in the 380s about 3 starts ago. So needs to pitch better on the road. The Orioles need to play better on the road, and certainly going to get the opportunity here in Anaheim.
DeJesus will lead it off. David DeJesus. He's had a lot of at-bats against the Orioles this year, coming from the American League East. He is 7 for 28 with a home run and an RBI against the Orioles this year. As DeJesus arrived here with the Angels after starting the season out in the American League East. And the pitch will be taken away for a ball. He's got some power. He was with Tampa Bay, involved the minor league player. Coming the other way, he played 82 games with the Rays this year.
Yeah, they got Murphy, who's in the lineup. Also, the flying Hawaiian. Victorino's over. They were out hitting early with the off day for both of the teams yesterday.
5 left-handers will be in the lineup against Kevin Gausman. Jim showed you the numbers. A little bit better average for the lefties. So Mike Scioscia's put a left-handed lineup in there against him. And a swing and a miss and a good pitch down. Gausman is making his 2nd career start against the Angels. The only other one was at Oriole Park back in July of 2014, and he got a win. 3 runs, 3 hits in 7 strong innings against the Angels. That, however, a year ago. 2-2 delivery. Take it, and he's gone.
Yeah, a little breaking ball of some sorts. You know, it's gotten away from the slider. So DeJesus, if you mentioned Gary, a lot of at bats, better fastball hitter. Maybe he might have been a little split changeup. I think it was right on the outside corner.
If he's got that pitch going tonight, he'll be really tough to hit. Gausman gets Calhoun, the right fielder. A couple of hits and 11 at bats against the Orioles on the year with a very solid 277 and some power. 15 homers and 59 RBIs.
Yeah, that's 1 more than last year, and then home runs are 2 less. Take a look at the Oriole defense. Least amount of errors, best defense in the American League. Reimold, Jones, Parra, Machado, Hardy, Scope, Davis, and then Wieters. A lot of Gold Gloves in this Oriole defense.
Defense shifted a bit, but just a normal shift against the left-hander. Calhoun will take the pitch. That is in there for a strike.
And the other thing about Gary, and we've seen him, I mean, Kevin Gausman, that was 98. He doesn't have to overthrow to get to that number. So lately he's been able to pitch in and out to both righties and lefties, and I think a lot of it has to do with they've given him the ball every 5th day now.
And he is ready for that, and that is exactly what they had hoped, that for the second half of the season their young right-hander would be ready to go the rest of the way. There are no limitations. They want Gausman to pitch on a regular basis. The Orioles will need it. Come in 6 games behind the Yankees, just off the wild card by half a game coming into today's play. It's going to be a real grinded out rest of this season for the clubs looking for the playoffs. We'll update you on the games played in the East later on as they finish. Gausman ready with a 2-2 delivery and outside corner. Hitters get used to it.
Yeah, I don't think, as you mentioned, you want to be taking anything on the corner or just off. Take a look. Wieters with a glove outside. Ball about maybe a quarter of it, an inch or 2 off the corner, and there you go. Back-to-back strikeouts.
So 2 down. Here's Trout. He gets a nice birthday welcome as he stands in. Certainly a face of baseball right here.
Only 24.
Yep. And he's taken on the role as being one of the big players. Fastball is going to miss away. Orioles put the shift on against him. The outfield pretty much straight up, and even against Trout, Adam Jones is playing a fairly shallow center. He moves over towards right a bit now, and he whacks it left field in the power alley. Happy birthday, goodbye, home run, Mike Trout.
Well, let's get to number 33. Like a little breaking ball. Boy, you speed up the bat. You make a mistake. Foot gets down. Boy, he's got one of the prettiest swings and one of the most explosive swings in baseball.
So the Major League home run leader adds another in a 1-0 lead. And here is Albert Pujols. Both Trout and Pujols coming into this game were 0 for 3 against Gausman. Pujols took care of that in his first at bat. And the fastball will be in there for a strike, up to 97 miles an hour on that pitch.
So Gausman gets what, a little bit under 2.5 runs a game in offense, and Heaney gets almost 7.5.
And Pujols will take that one inside.
And if you're going to score 7.5, you got to get started early.
Yep. And they did. So the Orioles, Gausman trying to get out of this now to get Pujols out of there for the third out. Infield still shifted on him, and he goes the other way for a base hit. Now, one of the things you have to do when you shift is make sure your defense is aligned to where you're going to throw the ball. That's one of those where Pujols took one away and just softly hit it. Take a look at our Maryland Live Casino inside the numbers.
So there is the offense the first 3 innings. Well, that changed the last 7 games. I mean, you get all the numbers. Yeah, they're what, 2 and 3 since the All-Star, or at least the last 5 games in August, and they're only getting 2.6 runs a game. But you hit a home run, you make a good swing. You're right about the defense. I'm throwing 98 down and away. I don't want them overplaying them to pull. And
ground ball towards second base. Jonathan Scope on Murphy's grounder makes the play, and Murphy is retired. However, the Angels will get a run on 2 hits, no errors, 1 left on, and the Angels take the Trout lead. Being selected, 500 more for every Orioles home run hit tonight. Play Baseball Bucks Scratch House, win up to $50,000, or enter non-winning tickets for a chance to be the contestant of the game. Visit mdlottery.com/baseball.
Yeah, that's a nice birthday present. Chris gave it to himself.
Who else can give a finer present?
Yeah, right. Mike Trout, what do you want for your birthday? Well, I want a hanging breaking ball, and I'm going to hit it towards the rocks very quickly.
I don't need to go to Disneyland because it's right down the street, and I've been there all day.
Yeah.
Here's Matt Wieters. Matt will lead it off in a ballpark where he has really done damage. 355. 4 home runs in this yard. That one down the line and right. Calhoun, the long run, will get there. Fair territory. Wieters retired on a pitch. There you go. Talk about support.
Well, yeah, I mean, Hutchinson hasn't pitched as well. Eovaldi, he's pitched well for the Yankees, but they support him well. So you get the combination. Burley, of course, plays for Toronto. They're the best offense in the American League. How about Marquis Jason with Cincinnati? But when you combine it, and Andrew Heaney, we remember 8 starts, 7 of them 2 runs or less. I mean, hadn't ever given up more than 2 runs. That's early in his career. It's a great combination.
Yes, it is. It'll make your career longer. Pitch is taken away for a ball.
And Gary, if we look at Andrew Heaney from behind, he still throws across his body a little bit, but not as pronounced. So again, I mean, he's way over on the first base side, so it does set the at least his lane. So there he is, and he's going to kind of step probably about 6 inches. Apparently, he was way across. So whatever he's doing, it's working.
Yep.
The Orioles hope that maybe that'll change. And
Hardy hitting .230 off the left-handers this year, and he walked him. Only the 8th walk that he has surrendered on the year, and the Orioles get their 2nd base runner. When the Orioles return to town next Friday, don't miss the season's next fireworks. The A's are going to be in town, and after the ball game, a beautiful post-game fireworks display presented by Baltimore area credit unions. Tickets at Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. So J.J. Hardy on a first base, 1 down. Jonathan Scopes got a 5-game hit streak coming in, closing in on that 300 batting average, and the pitch will be at the knees for a strike. For Jonathan, during the streak, he has gone 9 for 17.
That's a nice little August, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And he's hitting the ball hard.
Again, he's driven the ball up for extra base hits. Pitch him up and away. He'll take you to right field. And we saw him pull some balls up in Oakland.
Only 222 off left-handers, which is surprising inside to him, especially when he's got that big 338 average against right-handers. Got to believe that'll even out a little bit as he matures.
Well, what a lefties that righties, righties usually have the hard breaking ball, and it goes away from a right-handed hitter. And the lefties have maybe a screwball or run the ball away.
That one is a broken bat fly ball to Jesus going over. Will make the catch. Hardy all the way down to second, will return to first.
But you get an idea of how quick he can be. I mean, that ball down and in. Yeah, he got it up on the bat a little bit because he was out in front of shade. But we talk about quality swings. That was one of them. I mean, doesn't pay off other than maybe your confidence the next time you come to the plate.
So remaining at first with 2 down is Hardy, and here's Oriole fans' first look in an Oriole uniform at Junior Lake. Lake is the designated hitter in the ball game. Travis Snyder. The Orioles move Snyder off the roster to make the trade today. Goes after the first pitch he sees as an Oriole. Calhoun is there, and he's got it. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left on base. Home run by Trout came early, and that's the 1-0 lead.
Well, they are, and obviously, again, it's a small sampling. One of his runs was in relief down in Tampa when Chen got 6 early runs and couldn't get to the 5th inning. Certainly a better pitcher, and the other side of that coin is you still have to prove that. The Orioles, again, certainly not a what are they, 23 and 32 on the road. They're very much like the Angels, a much better team at home. And so again, I mean, it's same mound, same ball. Mentioned may be different. Just have to pitch better and hope your teammates support you.
Almost reverse records for the Angels home and the Orioles on the road this season. Here is Ibar. Switch hitter will take the pitch down low for a ball. The Angels are 34 and 22 at home. The Orioles are 23 and 32 on the road. Ibar, always a tough out contact hitter, will slice that one back. He's already had 5 hits against the Orioles this year, 5 for 12.
That's about 0.6 of a run more they score on the road than here, and then ERA even more different, where it's about a little over 3 runs a game at home and over 4.3 on the road.
And that pitch taken for a strike.
Nice little curveball.
Gosman will have Ibar, then Gillespie. Giovitella due up. Shift on in the infield now as they move Hardy almost behind second base against Ibar. Outfield, Jones very shallow. It slices it the other way, trying to go down the line. Almost got one there. For Ibar, he's hit .305 right-handed and .263 from the left side as he is now. Both of his home runs this year have been hit left-handed.
Well, he's a good shortstop. A lot of infield hits, bunts, usually up with the leaders.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fair ball. Oh, mercy. He's on his way to second base. He's not going to get there. Out by the country mile. Nolan Reimold, who is shallow and over towards the line, got to the ball in a hurry and had him by that much.
Well, he kept shifting over as he kept spraying balls foul. And then again, Nolan Reimold, when he is healthy, and seems to be the case, is about as good an all-around guy that you want as your third outfielder. So watch him make this throw. Circles it, and then a BB. And you're right about the country mile.
Had to wait for him.
Yeah.
So Ibar single, thrown out, trying to stretch it. And in there for a strike. Gillespie, big play. That's a leadoff batter. Jonathan Scope right there to put the tag on.
32nd assist?
Yeah.
By the outfield of the Orioles this year.
Orioles keep piling those up. Pitch on the way to Gillespie will be taken down low for a ball. Connor Gillespie getting the start at third base. Couple of hits, 15 at bats against the Orioles this season. Defenses continuing to move all around for the Orioles, depending on who's up, who's pitching, and what the count is. And it's happening in this ball game as it does in all of them.
Well, they always talk about how many hits the shift takes away. Already tonight, the shift has allowed 2.
Yeah.
The Pujols single and then Ibar. I mean, you're going to throw 98 down and away. I don't know if they're going to pull the ball.
And a swing and a miss, perfectly located down and in on Gillespie.
Yeah, right there, that's a hitter's count. And then again, 97, 98, outside corner.
Picked up from the White Sox on the 24th of July. He was designated for assignment by them. 6 RBIs, 8 game with the Angels. And that one will be foul back. So you can see how this Angel team has been recreated as we go through the lineup. They have relied on Trout and Pujols to be their consistent ball players. Mike Scioscia said a lot of people in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, and the other thing, Cole Calhoun out and right, he's a constant, having another good year. Well, they kind of early bet the ranch on Matt Joyce from Tampa Bay. And, they gave him 242 at bats. He hit 178, 157 runners in scoring position, and had a concussion, and then they made the trades. I mean, they're forced to do it. You're trying to win. There's the hitting instructor, Don Baylor, one of my former teammates.
The ball club that's clearly got some power. Pitch on the way, and a swing and a miss as Gausman dropped that one in, and Kevin's got his third strikeout, 2 down.
They take a look late, and then maybe a little bit out front. Again, the late movement gets him at 10 miles per hour slower than the fastball.
Giovatello playing at second base. He comes into this ball game with a 4-game hit streak. Out of New Orleans. He just turned 28 years old. And a towering pop-up. Second base, Jonathan Scope. He'll back up, put it away. So with a little help from his D, no runs on 1 hit, no errors, nobody left, and only 3 batters faced. As Reimold made the nice play there, and that's Jim out earlier today enjoying the ocean. Couch cam, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. With Jim Palmer, I'm Gary Thorne. Our crew on hand along with some Oriole fans opening up the 3-game set here in Anaheim. 3 different start times, as I discovered when I went to dinner and said to the PR people, what time's the game start tomorrow anyway?
Yeah, what time's the
7 or 7:30? And no, it's 6 o'clock. All right, so here you go. Tomorrow, 9:30 O's Extra, 10 o'clock for the ball game. That'll be on Masson 2.
No, actually,
no,
9
that's
o'clock.
wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Hang on. I told you I didn't know. 8:30 for O's Extra, 9 o'clock for the game. Ubaldo Jimenez and Garrett Richards.
What
do you want?
What time's the game?
You want exact times? Yeah. I mean, come on.
What time is the game on Sunday?
It's a world afloat in communications.
So you get an extra
part of that.
Extra night.
I get an
hour sleep.
Extra hour sleep.
For Sunday.
Look at this stupid Sunday game.
I mean,
12:30 local. Are you kidding me? Come on, get some rest. Anybody go to church? I mean, come on.
Oh, like you said, they come from the beach.
That is church. 1-0 lead on the Trout home run. And the pitch will be taken inside as the Orioles work with Reimold, left fielder, batting in the 9th spot. Machado and Parra will be due up. Nolan getting a chance against the Angels for the first time this year. He's a .259 hitter in this ballpark and has had a couple of home runs here in Anaheim. Little breeze blowing out towards center or right, but not much. He'll chase that one outside. Diving stop. Gillespie got a hurry. Not going to get him. With Reimold's speed, an infield hit.
Yep. You know, Ibar's not going to be able to throw him out. So when Nolan makes Gillespie Connor dive for the ball to his left, even though he gets up very quickly and gets rid of it, just the speed factor. Big guy. When he gets his at bats, you're hoping he's going to hit some home runs, and if he doesn't hit home runs, he can beat out pretty much routine balls. They're not routine when he's running.
Manny Machado, a base hit his first time up, and Manny will take the pitch away for a ball. So Manny's got a 4-game hit streak now. Machado 286 off the lefties, 292 off right-handers, and there's his overall 292 on the year. Pitch on the way, and he slices that one inside, but it missed.
Yeah, you can get a pretty good idea that he can go to both sides of the plate, which is why he's having so much success. Leadoff runner in the first inning when Manny got on and nobody advanced him. That's the key. Obviously, you want to advance him to home. That's the obvious. But getting him into scoring position.
Manny will pop that one up to center. Trout. He's got it for the out back to first. Well, next Saturday, August 15, the first 20,000 fans 15 and over get the J.J. Hardy orange replica jersey. It'll be the A's in town, 7:05 game. You can add to your wardrobe with this detailed replica of the O's popular alternate jersey. To get your tickets, Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. One down, Reimold on at first base. Gerardo Parra will stand in, flying out to center field, his first time up. He has not faced the Angels this season, and not a lot in his career. Ground ball towards the hole. That's going to be a base hit. Lining it up, Reimold headed to third. Here's the throw. Calhoun, he got him. He is out. And another one where there was plenty of room to spare.
Yeah, you don't make that play if you don't charge it and make a perfect throw. Reimold running hard, but as he comes around second, trying to get it, he slows down right there, and then the perfect throw nails him. Check this out. About a step and a half and right on the money.
So we've had a couple of base runners thrown out, one for each team. Calhoun, a great arm, outstanding play. It'll be a base hit for Parra. He goes down to second on the throw, so he is in scoring position. And Adam Jones, who popped out his first time up, will get the RBI chance. Orioles still second in the league, 282 in these situations. And Adam, of course, has been one of the best at getting people home. Look back, long look at second base. Giavotella had moved in and stepping off Haney. Adam has seen his running in scoring position number drop precipitously over the last couple of months, all the way down to 247 on the year now. He led the ball club first couple of months along with Paredes.
Yeah, that went up about 10 points in Oakland. Yeah, it's amazing. You can go 3 for 5, 4 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Your number might get up in the 280s.
You don't have that many at bats, although they're
getting up there
closing
now.
in on 100 now. 1-0 delivery on the way. Foul tip. That one ended up in the mitt. Chris Davis has had 97 at bats in these situations. He leads the ball club, and behind him is Adam Jones with 89 opportunities, batting 3 and 4 in the lineup today. Jones and Davis. Each team with 3 hits, 2 down here. 1-1 delivery, runner off second, in the air to center, hit hard, going back. Trout at the wall. It's going to come off the middle of it. Run will score. Throw into second base, and out. May have come off the bag. The run will count. So Jones delivers the base hit. He gets an RBI, and then Trout throws him out.
Yeah, nice throw. And again, he steps right on Giavottella's glove. So you do get the RBI, trying to, if you're lucky he didn't hurt his ankle. So already 3 assists from the outfield.
Wow. Ball game is tied. Jones the RBI, 3 hits in the inning. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com and by your local Mercedes dealership. So a 1-1 ball game. Not that they care. There is Parra, motored his way in and scored before the out was recorded at second base. And that's tied the ball game up. Bottom half of the third inning. Orioles won 4-0. The Angels won 3-0 in the Trout home run. Hitting ninth, Chris Iannetti. He'll go after the first pitch. These pitchers throwing so many strikes. Hitters coming up and are going for it right on that first delivery. Adam Jones puts it away.
Well, they know, and of course they know that it's a big strike zone. You need to be aggressive, and then of course the only way you get those outs, talk about it all the time, is if you throw strike one.
And we welcome those of you watching the Nationals. Rockies winning at 5-4. Our bonus coverage. Gary Thorne, Jim Palmer with you from Anaheim, where the ball game is tied at 1-1. One away, bottom half of the third inning. Trout has delivered his 33rd home run. Adam Jones has tied it up with a single, and that's where we are. DeJesus, top of the order, called out on strikes his first time up. Lifetime 2 for 8 off the Orioles' Kevin Gausman. Manny Machado even with the bag at third. DeJesus with some pretty good speed. Big cut on that one and fouls it back.
Yeah, he's just a veteran hitter that when he did it the first time, even though he would strike out, a lot of the time gets the count where he can look for pitches. And how do you do that? You know, I'm not sure he's going to know it tonight because it's a big strike zone, but you know the difference between a ball and a strike, and you don't expand until you get to 2 strikes.
Pitch on the way. DeJesus will take it. It'll bounce. And Kevin Gausman in the 88-mile-an-hour goes 2-1.
See, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, almost it seems like he's always 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. And then he can look for his pitch. If you can, boy, anybody can do it. He just does a pretty good job of it. And then he still can't get 97.
Had one there to drive, but fouled it back. And DeJesus evens the count up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. First hit, first RBI as an Angel came on Monday. That Tampa Bay deal we talked about was on July 28th. 99 career home runs. So he's sitting on a magic number. He's not a home run hitter. But in the air to right field, that'll be back shy of the warning track. Parra's there and will make the catch. Here's our PNC minor league report.
Let's take a look. Trey Mancini. I mean, you know, when you talk a couple weeks ago, I talked to Terry Crowley, works with a lot of the minor league guys. He really likes his bat. Look at those numbers. So again, college player that's working his way and swinging his way, hopefully up the ranks.
Certainly with the changes going on, you want to be there, as you never know. Here is Calhoun, strikeout victim, his first time up. 2 down, nobody on. Calhoun will foul it off. Talked about how these teams, their numbers are so alike. They both have had roller coaster rides this year. The Angels, they have lost 10 of their last 13. Prior to that, Mike Scioscia's ball club had won 17 of 20. The Orioles, they've won 9 of their last 12 after they'd lost 15 of 20. So both have shown an ability to win ball games in streaks and then turn it right around and it falls off.
Yeah, I mean, they go 13 out of 15 and they go 1-9.
And a lot of that offensive where they just don't score runs.
You know, and then they're missing Weaver. I mean, if you look at their starters, C.J. Wilson looks like he's going to have bone chips taken out of his elbows.
Yep.
There's 2 of your starters. That's why Heaney's so important. There is C.J. Wilson.
Weaver may be back to pitch on Sunday. Tillman may be back to pitch on Sunday. Neither manager committing. One ball, 2 strike delivery. And Gausman got that one towards the outside part of the plate and fouled it away.
At 99.
Now we'll stay at 1-2.
Well, it looks like Calhoun already with 1 more RBI is probably going to either equal the 17 home runs he hit in his first year. The other thing is, he hits well with runners in scoring position. We saw his arm. He can run a little bit, 4 out of 5. Not a lot of steals, but when he does run, successful.
Gosman will miss that one down low. So Calhoun working it here. Strikeout victim, his first time up. But made the, as Jim said, that big throw over to third base. Pitch on the way, and that'll be a grounder into the shift. Has to be charged by Scope, and records the out. Not an easy play. So that'll do it here in the third inning. We've completed 3 in the first of 3 games to be played here at the Big A, and it's tied at 1. Bring us our this state in baseball history. August 7th of 1978, Mel Allen, Red Barber, they were New York mainstays. With the ball clubs became the first recipients of the Ford Frick Broadcasting Award. And in 1907 would be the Senators' Walter Johnson winning his first major league game. He was 19 years old. He would win 417 games with a .599 win percentage. 21 years and a career 2.17 ERA. The big train, Walter Johnson. Orioles bat as we go to the 4th inning. Orioles won 4-0. The Angels won 3-0. Chris Davis rips it. He's got a base hit. Even with the shift, not going to get that one. And Chris has got a 5-game hit streak.
Yeah, batting average much higher against lefties. Home runs down compared to righties because he doesn't get as many at bats. But boy, you leave it in the middle of the plate, especially outside middle. Doesn't matter if you're righty or lefty. It's his comfort zone.
And he's really upping his average. I mean, significantly, about 20 points here over the last month. So he's on at first. He and Pujols, there are a couple of big sticks talking to one another. Matt Wieters flied out his first time up. Five hits now for the O's. The Orioles have done something already in this game that other ball clubs did not do against Haney. The Orioles have had the leadoff man on 3 of the 4 innings. Haney retires 81% of leadoff batters, an extraordinarily high number. But not in this game. That's off the end of the bat. Tough play anywhere. Had trouble getting it out of the glove. Will get the force out at second base on Davis. Giovitella almost couldn't make the throw. I want to remind you that on Saturday, August 16, the O's take on the A's. First 7,500 fans 14 and under get the Chris Tillman Growth poster presented by Topps. You can measure your child, see how he's measuring up, or she, to the 6'5 O's hurler. It's a life-size poster. Tickets Orioles.com. 888-848-BIRD. One down, runner on at first base, Wieters. Hardy drew a walk his first time up. AJ will take the pitch away for a ball. Here are the numbers for the Orioles shortstop on the year. Defense about as straight up as you'll see it against any hitter in baseball. It is against Hardy. Lefty's delivery is going to miss down low.
Yeah, it seemed that JJ, when he was hitting the home runs with the 30, 22, 25, again, that back problem last year, shoulder problem this year, he was more of a pull hitter. Now they play him pretty much straight away, infield and outfield.
Foul back.
Whoa. Incoming.
I don't know what it broke, but something went flying out.
Aha, a marker.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Very strong.
It got my Sharpie.
Further proof that no matter how old you are, you can still move when it's coming back here.
Well, you're trying to watch the monitor, the field, and the ball is coming at you.
And the pitch is going to miss inside.
I thought I was safe up here. Apparently not.
No.
Whoa.
No, this is a very dangerous place to be. We're being offered a Sharpie by the folks next door. That foul ball shattered a Sharpie.
It's on the monitor.
Wow, look at that. That'll be handled in right by Calhoun, and Hardy is retired. We'll do our Masson live liner and finish the read before the next pitch.
I think it's a lifeliner.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Get in on the baseball action with Masson. Text the word Orioles to 29292 for team alerts and chances to win exclusive prizes all season long, including meet and greets with your favorite players. Again, Orioles 29292. Those alerts you can't miss. See something new in every game. I've never seen a Sharpie broken by a hit ball.
Highlighter. I highlighted all over the booth.
Hey, look at that thing. It hit it and just shattered it into pieces.
Well, let me do the illustration. This is the telestrator, and right in the middle you'll probably see a little mark. That is part of the highlighter.
That was the incoming. That was a piece of the hard plastic. It's unbelievable. Oh, so is that way back. Will it stay fair? And yes, goodbye, home run. And it is a 2 RBI shot. Jonathan Scope continues to barrel him up. Leaders will score ahead of him, and the Orioles have a 3-1 lead.
So now 10 for his last 19 home run. You can see number 8, and the other factor is he's got a 6-game hitting streak. He had a real good swing the first time, headed out just on the end of the bat, and just missed a home run the first time up. And again, this is the first time in 8 starts that Andrew Heaney has given up more than 2 runs. That's how good he has been.
Second career home run by Jonathan Scope here in this ballpark. And boy, did he get this.
Yeah, it looks like maybe a changeup, and it stays down and in. Boy, speeds up the bat, and he just waffles it. Kept it fair, not by much.
Second home run against a left-hander. That one on a one-hopper to second base. Giavatello will make the play on it, and that will retire the side. But the Orioles had a couple of runs. Wieters reached on a fielder's choice, and Jonathan Scope brought him in on that one. Second home run against the left-hander this year. 3-1 O's. highlighter, and as you can see, I mean, it shattered this, and there's a little piece of it that came off. Shrapnel.
It got shrapnel.
That's what it looks like. I mean, that ball was tagged coming back here.
Yeah,
I don't know how you got out of the way. I was impressed.
Your beloved wife Alex got hit last year.
This is a very dangerous booth for us. They say not many foul balls come back here, but I'm not believing that anymore.
Well, just one a year.
While we're here. Jonathan Scope delivering the long ball for the Orioles, and Kevin Gausman will go back to the mound with the lead in the ball game.
So that's more runs than he usually gets. Only the home run to the guy stepping at the plate on his 24th birthday. Home run number 33.
So here's the Angel home run in the person of Mike Trout. Trout delivered the homer, his 33rd, leading the majors in that department. The last Oriole to have a home run on his birthday was Josh Hamilton in 2013.
And he is the frame of reference. Came up in the elevator. Some guy with his daughter said, "Hey, it's my daughter's Elisa's birthday." Same as Mike Trout's. Jim Trammell, an Oriole fan, he goes, "It's my birthday, so is Mike Trout."
Exactly. Pitch to is going to be inside. Kevin Gausman doing what you need to do, and that's at least make him aware and not be leaning out over the plate.
I'm not sure you want to do it 2-0, but not with Pujols coming up next. Of course, he of 30 home runs.
Pitch on the way. It will be taken for a strike. Orioles now 3-6-0. They've left 2. The Angels 1-3-0. They have left 1. Gausman, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Haney, a walk and a strikeout. And came back inside. And there is the first walk surrendered by the Orioles starter, and Trout will get it.
Yeah, you know, twilight, and the monitor, at least mine's a little darker, especially now that it has yellow all over it. But that first pitch that Mike Trout hit was a fastball. I thought it was a hanging splitter. Dave Johnson, always vigilant back in Baltimore. So thank you very much.
For Trout, he is now second in walks. Only Josh Donaldson has more walks in the American League. Here is Albert Pujols, got a base hit his first time up. Trout on at first will be held by Davis. Breaking ball will miss inside for a ball. Albert Pujols against the Orioles, a .262 career hitter. He has had 5 lifetime home runs, just 5 against the Orioles. One of those came this year. 3 for 13 in the 3 games that were played at Camden Yards. Scope right behind second base, and the fastball, that one is going to miss.
Yeah, there's 2 numbers that kind of surprised me about Albert. I mean, you know, he's got 30 home runs, so obviously, yeah, it's not the .257 batting average, lifetime over 300. It's .230 with runners in scoring position, and then .227 when he actually puts the ball in play. League average is right around 300. Incredibly low number.
2-0 count. Pujols a breaking ball, and that will miss. Well, so Gausman working carefully to the meat of the order.
Well, Gary, what we see is and this is part of the experience factor. They get you a 2-run lead, even if you threw another home run to Trout, you made him put the ball in play. Yeah, he's a good hitter, but Mike came in hitting .303. That means what? He makes 7 out of every 10 outs. But now all of a sudden you're getting him back in the game by being wild.
And he walked him.
Yeah.
2 walks in a row to lead off the 4th inning. The O's upcoming schedule brought to you by Mile One Automotive, offering you 20 convenient locations throughout the Baltimore area. Visit them in store or online at mile1.com.
And I'm not saying it's easy, because it isn't. I mean, I've been out there. You know, it's Mike Trout, but again, free passes. Best defense in baseball. Kevin Gausman's not wild. Best maybe being a little bit tentative.
So that will bring Murphy to the plate. David Murphy grounded out his first time up. He is the DH. He has been real good this year and lifetime against the Orioles. He is 7 for 14 against the O's this year. .339 a lifetime batting average against the Orioles, and 4 career home runs.
And then a lot of RBIs with 24.
So Murphy's got runners on at first and second base. Came over from the Indians July 28th. He'd hit .296 with Cleveland. David Murphy, the delivery to him, and that'll be lashed back into the screen. A pretty good cut of that. Angels are 8th, right in the middle of the pack with runners in scoring position as a team, hitting at .258. Big chance for them here, though, to have an inning when you get the first two on. Question is whether those other than Trout and Pujols can add to the offense. Osman's delivery, a looper. That's going to be a base hit, and it's going to die out there. Trout will come around and score easily. Throw to the cutoff man. RBI hit by Murphy in a one-run game.
Yeah, the free passes and then bad luck. Great approach, though. Splitter trying to put the ball in play. Boy, they've done this 3 times with 2 strikes. Ibar, Pujols, and now Murphy. And you can see the speed of Mike Trout. So there's one of the runs back that Heaney gave up on the home run by Jonathan Scope.
There is Trout. He's crossed the plate both times that he has been up in this ball game.
And I would think that maybe Ibar, you certainly never know this, but you got to be pretty aware that he may drop a bunt down here.
Murphy gets his first RBI as an Angel in this his 8th game. 2 on. Ibar, Machado will play in at third base. Ibar leaning. It's away for a ball. He picked up a single his first time up. Reimold threw him out when he tried to extend it to a double. So the Angels trying to have a big 4th inning.
Well, you kind of jump started with the bases on ball, and then you get unlucky. And again, to Murphy's credit, just almost a one-handed swing served it into left.
Ibar takes the pitch inside this time, and that's not going to be there either. So a 2-0 count as Kevin Gausman flirts with but does not find the strike zone here in the 4th inning.
Yeah, one of his strengths is runner in scoring position number coming in, because number will go up a little bit, 176, real low.
Dave Wallace, the Oriole pitching coach, watching. Ibar waiting on a 2-0. Got one he wanted. Reimold playing shallow. He'll make the catch, and the runner's got to go back. So again, that positioning of Reimold has mattered both times in Ibar's at bats. Getting to throw him out at second the first time and right where he needed to be on a line drive.
That's an amazing game. And tomorrow in the box score, Murphy's little one-handed 60-degree wedge will look like a line drive, and Ibar will just be an out.
Matt Wieters going out to have a word with his starter. 1 down now. Pujols on at second base, Murphy on at first. And here is Connor Gillespie. Gillespie just .217 this year with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, Don Baylor, when Gillespie came on, I said, what do you think? He said, well, I like his swing, but I don't like his lack of aggression. Not good. So they're trying to get him at least early on to be, look for your pitch, let it go.
He'll take it inside for a ball. So after all those strikes, first pitch strikes being thrown in the first 3 innings, here in this inning, Kevin Gausman has not been doing that and getting behind in the count to these Angel hitters.
And then you get to see him for the second time, and it complicates things.
Delivery on the way, and that'll be foul back. 96. He's been up there 96, 97 on the heater tonight. 101. Big crowd on hand here tonight. They may in fact have a sellout. There are some empty seats way up top. They got a lot of folks on hand for this opener as the Angels do battle, trying to find a playoff spot just as the Orioles do. A lot more talk from the Angel fans about the importance of this series than we were hearing from the Orioles. As Buck Showalter always says, they're all important. Swing and a miss and a pitch down.
Well, they're 1 up in the wild card, so anytime you go in, and ideally you want to at least win 2. Would get you even, and of course What does Toronto do tonight? Great thing about playing out here, as we mentioned in Oakland, you see some scores. Toronto already beats the Yankees 2-1.
In the games in Baltimore, the Orioles lost 3-1, 6-1, and then won the third game 3-0. On the way, ground ball. Jonathan Scope charging. He'll make the play at second for one. Relay over to first. Not in time. Over to third base goes Pujols, and there are a couple of outs. Gave it a try and made it pretty close at first base.
Yeah, slow developing, and you want to make sure. You can see how far Jonathan Scope has to go to his left. Then the strong throw. And Gillespie easily. Not that he has a lot of speed, but beats it out.
Giavatello now runners at first and third. And Albert Pujols the lead runner. Giavatello's hit .295 in these situations. Good number for the Angels. Done a good job for them at second base. Orioles have held him down in the 4 games to just 1 hit and a dozen at bats. Yanni Giavatello runners on first and third. Pitch on the inside corner, first strike.
Yeah, one of those guys that we would see him every year. He was going to be the guy that's going to come up and play second base for Kansas City. One of those guys would always, at Omaha, had over 300 and steal bases. Occasional, a lot of doubles. 33 of them last year in Omaha.
Pitch on the way, and that's going to be a base hit. Nolan Reimold is going to try and cut it off. He does. It'll hold the runner, second runner at third. Scoring is Pujols, and the ball game is tied up on an RBI double.
Well, that's what he does. He's scrappy. Talking down to the cage, he said, you know what, all you got to do is show up, work hard, and hope you get a chance to play. And on this club, he does. Howie Kendricks, longtime second baseman, now with Dodger. So both, at least to this point, the 2 runs are the walks.
Giavatello picks up RBI number 37 on the year. And the Angels get this ball game immediately tied up after the Orioles had taken a 2-run lead on the homer by Jonathan Scope in the top half of this inning.
Yeah, a little two-seamer. And again, inside middle, and turns on it. You're well aware that his best pitch is the fastball. That's what you're hitting off of. Giavatello able to get the bat head out.
Big at bat right here. Iannetta, 2 in scoring position, will put it in the air to right. Parra is there and will make the catch. So the Angels pick up a couple of runs on those leadoff walks. 3 hits, 2 left on base, tie the game up. mdfirevolunteer@gmail.com to volunteer with your local fire rescue and EMS. As the water flows in a state where they wish there was more of it. Ball game tied at 3. The Orioles out hitting the Angels by just 1. Good ball game underway here. Long ball, Trout, major league leader, 33rd in the first inning. Giavotella with the RBI double in the 4th. Murphy an RBI single to tie it up after Jonathan Scope hit his 8th home run. 2-run shot, top of the 4th. Here's Nolan Reimold, who will lead it off. Reimold a base hit. He got thrown out by Calhoun, trying to move up to third base later in that inning on a single. Haney with a walk and a strikeout. Left-hander's delivery throttled that one to the outside and got him to chase. Thirteenth major league start for the 24-year-old left-hander. Career record 5 wins, 4 losses. All of the wins have come with the ball club. 5-1 mark this year. 1-1 delivery on the way, and that will bounce outside.
Yeah, he even pitched in Colorado and gave up 2 runs, 7 1/3 innings. But the ball flies.
Almost impossible. That's on the inside corner.
Yeah, movement, left-handed, deception, strike thrower. Keeps the ball in the ballpark with a couple of exceptions. Now, what, 4 of them.
And a ground ball will go to short. Got to be charged. Quick runner. High ball. Records the out. Leadoff man retired. Top of the order, Manny Machado, and then Parra due up. Haney was looking to become the first pitcher in Angels history to allow 2 or fewer runs in his first 8 starts with the team. Not going to happen.
What you mentioned, Jared Weaver, he was one of the guys I think did it in his first 7.
Pitch will be inside for a ball, also low. Machado got a base hit in the first inning. Flied out his second time up. The other thing Haney has done, according to Mike Scioscia, is at the pace of the game he's picked up considerably from what he had been doing. When he got sent down, they get the ball back and get ready to go, and he is doing that. They think that's really helped get him into a flow in games. Pace a little too slow before, and get himself into some innings where you're struggling with pitches. Pitcher pitching coach. That ball in the air to center. Trout turns around, finds it, makes the catch.
Yeah, such good speed. Unless you're going to hit it off the wall, and he's saying maybe the ball knuckled a little bit. Looked like it more like it's sliced. And you can see in the top of your picture, and then he takes off and right there picks it up and then runs it down.
Gerardo Parra.
Well, one of the poster catches of all time is that first year he came to the big leagues in Baltimore off of J.J. Hardy, right center field. One of the great catches of all time for a center fielder.
2 down here. Bases are empty. Parra, base hit, run scored. 1 for 2. Now has a 4-game hit streak going for the Orioles. Making the starts in right field. He started all 3 outfield positions this year. That's going to miss outside. And as we said, is hit in about every spot in the lineup. 2 spot is where he is right now. He hit there 22 times this year prior to coming to the Orioles. And he'll go after one that was up a little bit, fouled it back, tried to drive it.
Yeah, have yet. When you talk about Gerardo Parra, you hear anything negative from all the players. They go, boy, good player, going to help you. Bob Melvin up in Oakland, the manager of the A's, one of my favorite guys. High energy, makes you better.
And only 28 years old. Pitch on the way to him. Pyre drives that one. That's going to curve away from Trout into the gap. He'll cut it off. Pyre will make a big turn but hang, and he's got a 2-hit ball game.
Yeah, there's something to be said, and we always talk about Adam Jones playing so shallow that if you do play deep, and we talked about Trout plays a little deeper, but then again great speeds, because he can circle the ball. And when you circle the ball, you take an angle where it's a little bit easier to throw to second base. And most runners will tell you that they decide whether they're going to take that extra base, how quickly you get to the ball.
Well, the Orioles pick up hit number 7, out hitting the Angels 7-5. Adam Jones, one of those, a base hit. He has popped out. Adam getting out of an 0 for 12 in his last at bat. He thought he had hit a home run.
Yeah,
in his last at bat, and he hadn't.
And he didn't run as hard as he usually does,
which is very seldom. Can you ever say that about Adam?
Yeah, especially infield grounders. He just thought, as you mentioned, that the ball was going to go out of here, and it didn't. Trout turned around and played it off the wall, made a perfect throw, and Adam's out.
Pretty good lead for Pyre at first base. Left-hander, long hold. Adam will take the pitch at the knees for a strike. He didn't think so.
Well, that was one of my favorite stories when Frank Robinson was a Hall of Famer with 587 home runs, hit a ball that he thought was going out of Fenway, and it went off the wall, and he had barely gotten around first. A couple $100 on Earl Weaver's desk. A little note saying I embarrassed the uniform and the club and myself.
There goes the runner. A swing, according to the home plate umpire, and that's that. Bill Cousy says he went around on it. Adam slams the helmet down. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left on.
Happy birthday to you. 1-0 Angels, 33rd home run for Mike Trout. Here come the Orioles. Far with a base hit. Adam thinks it's out, but it goes off the wall. There's your tying run, and then the bang play. 3 out, 5th assist already here in Anaheim tonight, and then Scope 2-run shot to put the Orioles head 3-1. The Angels come back, a couple of free passes. The game all tied at 3-3. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote.
So Kevin Gausman back to work with a walk and 3 strikeouts. He will work to the top of the order. David DeJesus, leadoff batter, 0 for 2. 2 for 9 now off Gausman, who gets it in there for a strike. Calhoun and then Trout will be due up for the Angels. Orioles done pretty well playing in this ballpark historically against the Angels. Last year 2-1, year before 3-1 here. They are 1 game above 500 games played here in Anaheim. 163 wins and 162 losses.
Yeah, 66 the first year that The Angels actually played in Dodger Stadium in '65. Then they opened it here. Big A back then.
Still is. Pitch on the no.
I don't think
foul
so.
back into the screen.
I look at it.
Well, it's like the Oakland Coliseum. It's still the Oakland Coliseum.
Well, they can call whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
And then they got the big A out on behind the scoreboard.
Yeah. Looks good. Gausman waiting. DeJesus stepped out on him. 0 for 4 for the top 2 hitters for the Angels so far, and now it's 0 for 5. 4 strikeouts for Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, just some high heat. 97. A couple of splitters early on in the count, and then see if you can hit my best fastball. Well, the table setters, because Trout's hitting third, and of course DeJesus and then Calhoun, a little different story here because he's a much better hitter, more power, higher average. And again, the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark if you mistake inside middle.
Calhoun's had an 0 for 2, a strikeout, and he has grounded out. Angels have a 14-12 record against teams from the American League East so far this season. They've done pretty well against the East. Ground ball down to third. Machado was playing in, gets a big hop, and gets the out. 2 down. Trout coming up, delivered a home run. Number 33, leading the major leagues on his birthday. You see a comparison. Now this is pushing it when you're asking your numbers to match those of Willie Mays, but there are the numbers through the first 597 games. Almost the exact same batting average, on base percentage, slugging percentage, a little bit lower, OPS, home runs, really had the advantage there. But Trout not far off the mark in that number of ball games compared to Mays.
You know, there have been some record setters this year that have said, oh, it's great to be compared. Of course, they'd already done the PEDs and all that. Trout not in that category. So when you're compared, even though it's early on, Mays was about as good a center fielder. How about when you had the Dodgers with Snyder and you had Mays and Mantle, 3 teams in the New York metropolitan area. But Willie, 660 home runs. You say, hey, kid.
2-0 delivery by Gausman. It'll be there for a strike. Trout drew a walk his second time up and would score.
You know, I don't know if there's anything that Mike Trout can't do. I mean, doesn't steal a lot of bases, even though certainly capable of doing it. Home runs, average, plus defender.
And the breaking ball is going to miss outside. He, of course, is in all the categories. 8th in average, 1st in home runs in the league. He is 7th in RBIs, 1st in slugging, 3rd in extra base hits. And he will foul that one back and takes a monster cut.
Yeah, coming off an MVP year where it was unanimous with all 30 first place votes. And a good kid, humble, nice guy. Lives, born in New Jersey. I was talking to him today on the notes when they came to Baltimore. It said he actually, his hometown, 113 miles from Baltimore. He said, "Oh no, it's not too far. They don't get stopped by state troopers. It's about 2 hours with traffic."
You do get stopped in your Mike Trout, still 2 hours. Pitch on the way and a base hit the other way. So that was against the shift. Inside out swing, 3 times up, 3 times on.
So Ibar, Pujols, now Trout. Again, I mean, this is, boy, when you watch him take batting practice, because he can hit the ball to right center as well as he can pull it. And he just shoots it, stays inside it with the best of them. Even the home run was that kind of swing. He very rarely gets around pitches.
That will bring up Albert Pujols. 2 down, 1 on. Pujols a single and a walk and a run scored. Gausman walked the first 2 in the 4th inning, and they both came around to score. 6 hits now for the Angels. Trout at first. Will throw over, short lead. Home run list, Albert Pujols at 550 is 5 behind Manny Ramirez, who is 14th. all-time in home runs. His extra base hits, 1,141, ranked 12th. 575 doubles, 18th, or 19th rather, looking to catch Wade Boggs. Puts that one in the air to right field. Going back is Parr. He's got room, and he will put it away. Gausman works out of it. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left on. Good ball game to open up this series, all tied at 3. They've won 6 in a row now. They did it. Donaldson again. I mean, mercy. 1 for 4. The solo home run is 30th. Red Sox beat the Tigers. Ortiz, who said, I've earned the right to play again next year. 1 for 4, 2-run homer. He's got 22. And the Mets, the team that can't pitch, can't hit, can't possibly win, must fire their manager and GM, defeated the Rays 4-2-3 as the Mets continue on top in the East by 2.5 games.
Yeah, and now we're finding out they went out and got Cespedes. And Bob Melvin gave me a whole tutorial on how important he was to the A's after, and of course he got traded to the Red Sox. And what did the Red Sox do? They got rid of him. Yeah, and signed what? Ramirez for $88 million, who can't play left.
Adam Jones' brother John on hand. And the pitch will be taken inside. 1-0 count. Chris delivering an RBI base, a base hit rather, in the 4th inning, leading it off. Right now, Haney trying to get leadoff batters out after the Orioles have taken advantage of those leadoff batters getting on in 3 innings. That's into the shift. Dunbar makes a play on it. Or was that Giovitelli?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but I think it was Johnny G.
Yep. Giovitelli was playing there, and Gillespie had come over from third base to play the deep fielding position. 4-3, 1 down. Matt Wieters reached on a fielder's choice, scored in the 4th inning, 2-run homer by Jonathan Scope. Adam Jones RBI single, the other run for the Orioles. Trout the home run, Murphy, Giovitelli the other RBI hits for the Angels. Left-hander's delivery, and Matt will take the pitch for a strike. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts for Haney. And that one's going to skip in the dirt in the batter's box.
And pretty efficient with his pitch count, 75 in the 6th inning.
Matt has hit lefties righties almost to the exact same average this year. Wieters with the home runs, 2 against each side of the pitching slab.
Yeah, he had no idea he was 22 for 62 here. He said, I know I have pretty good numbers, but not that high.
I said, Matt, guess you like coming to the Big A? And he said, shh.
Like they don't know.
3 ball, 2 strike count. Haney's delivery to him, and he got that one. That one to left field. Turn around and look, and goodbye, home run. Yeah, he likes hitting here. That is home run number 5 in this ballpark for Matt Wieters, and the Orioles go back on top 4-3.
Boy, did he smoke that ball. Gets more home runs left-handed, but the swing, boy, he naturally right-handed, gets the front foot down, and certainly hitting him out to right center, left center, as we just saw. And that bullet into the bullpen gives the Orioles 1-run lead.
Maryland Lottery contestant Patricia Glaive, couple of home runs, $500 each.
Now take a look, and Heaney, as we mentioned, doesn't give up a lot of home runs. 3 in 7 starts, 2 tonight, Scope, and then the solo right here for Matt Wieters.
J.J. Hardy 0 for 1 and a walk in the ball game. Will take the pitch down low. So the Orioles, as they have done throughout the reign of Buck Showalter, the home run matters. Ground ball to short, big hop, 5 on. 2 down. Orioles are hosting a second social media night Tuesday, August 18 before the Mets game. Q&A session. O's closer Zach Britton will be there. Brittany Giroli will be there from Orioles.com. You get a game ticket light fare, an exclusive T-shirt. Tickets start as low as $30, so don't miss out. Space is limited. Orioles.com/Birdland Social. Matt Wieters ripping one, and the Orioles go back on top. 2 down, nobody on for Scope, who had the other Orioles home run, and he's got a base hit. The Orioles jumping on those first pitch fastball strikes. A homer, a single, 2 for 3 in the ball game for the Orioles second baseman.
Well, he's healthy. He's worked on his swing since spring training. A great start, and then the sprained knee. Well, he comes back, and again, not only with the bat but the glove. One of the better young players in the American League, learning how to play the game and doing a heck of a job of it. Mike Butcher on the phone to their bullpen.
So that will bring Junior Lake to the plate. Oriole fans going, who? He has flied out and grounded out. Lake added to the roster today. Travis Snyder. The Orioles sent Snyder out, brought Lake up, acquired in the recent deal, and getting his first chance here in his first day with the Orioles. 25 years old, 4 games at AAA, and that was it. Pitch will be taken inside for a ball. He came from the Cubs in the Tommy Hunter deal. Salas warming up in the bullpen. He hit .316, 7 home runs, 31 RBIs in the AAA games he played for both the Orioles and for the Cubs AAA organization. So good numbers at AAA this year. He's got 193 major league games in which he's hit .241, 16 major league home runs, 46 RBIs.
Yeah, big swinger, big guy. Better hitter from this side than Paredes is. So probably Jimmy Paredes will be the DH against the right-handed pitching.
Down to third. That's a fair ball. Hits the bag. Shoots over the head of Gillespie. De Jesus in the corner will get it into the cutoff man, and Lake has got his first hit as an Oriole, a double.
Yeah, a little good fortune. Conor Gillespie, I mean, he's playing right on the line, so all he's got to do is catch it, except it's, you can see, I mean, it's just a couple of steps, but it hits the front of the bag, hops right over his head, so the Orioles get a break.
Gillespie happy that ball went over his head and not into his face, as that thing really shot off the bag. Oh, here's a big chance for the Orioles. They've already got the run in on the home run by Wieters. They now have 10 hits in the ball game off Haney. He had not given up 2 home runs in a ball game before. He has done that. He had not given up double-digit hits in a ball game. He has done that. And the pitch count at 85, and he's done. Mike Scioscia's on his way out. He's had the bullpen ready, and he's going to come get him.
Yeah,
as Joe Maddon did the other night with the Cubs, this is about making the playoffs now, and you're not going to wait.
Yeah, and they also look out of the scoreboard. Oakland's ahead of Houston. They trail Houston. So, again, young pitcher. Normal pitch count is around 95, 97 for him. He usually pitches a little bit better than this. Orioles, of course, as you mentioned, Gary, 15-9, 15-10 against left-handed starters. So they do a nice job. Nice job for the Orioles of adjusting. And this young man, for the first time in 8 starts, over 2 runs.
Matt Wieters delivering the long ball here in the 6th inning. And that home run puts the Orioles up. And Aney could be a loser as a result.
He has trouble getting the first batter off, and then a couple of home runs. So a lot of strikes, though. And then it gets time for a little relief for your car, too. Visit Jiffy Lube for regular oil changes and help prevent damage and wear to your engine. Jiffy Lube, drive in today. Fernando Salas, second year with the Angels, came over from the Cardinals. You can take a look. 3-pitch pitcher, fastball at 90, changeup in the 84 range, and then a knuckle curveball. So rolls up and down years. You can see the matchup as Reimold steps to the plate. Better average against righties than lefties. Lefties over 300.
Salas pitched an inning in the series in Baltimore, retired all 3 batters that he faced. Reimold 1-for-1 against him lifetime, and here's another one of those big at bats. The Orioles have got 2 in scoring position with 2 down, a run in here in the 6th inning. 7 inherited runners have scored out of the 30 who have been on when Salas comes to the mound. Well, the Orioles chance to do something here if he can get a base hit, and at 89 out in front of it.
Yeah, just, you expand the zone just enough. That ball at 89 probably hittable 3-4 inches lower. Again, you're anxious.
Reimold.
Yeah, I think the other number, Salas, they judge how do you do with heritage runners. Only 7 out of 30 have scored, so pretty good number.
Reimold will pop that one up. Could be playable. Second baseman Giovatello's got the best angle. And he dropped it. Oh, just flat out dropped it. That should be an error.
Yeah, did everything but catch it. Pujols couldn't get there. Horrible angle for him. Calls everybody off. You're going to see Calhoun comes into the picture from right field, but again, you're not close to the stands, and it just hits up on the heel of his glove, and Nolan Reimold gets another opportunity.
And he will be charged with an error that allows the at-bat to continue. So let's see if the Orioles can take advantage of that.
And of course, he's hoping that Fernando Salas does his job.
Pick me up.
Yeah.
Pitcher trying to pick up his infielder on this one.
Yeah, when they had Gausman on the ropes in the 4th after a couple leadoff walks, Diamondbacks with a chance to add 2 more runs, make it 5-3. Angels popped up for the final out.
So Nolan Reimold gets another chance at it. Delivery by Salas is there for a strike. Salas picked him up. The Orioles will pick up a run on 3 hits, 1 error, and 2 are left in scoring position. Back here in Anaheim, it's been the home run ball by Jonathan Schoop, his 8th, 2 RBIs, and Matt Wieters, his 5th of the year, solo shot that have given the Orioles the impetus to the 4-3 lead. Adam Jones has an RBI base hit as well. Kevin Gausman on the mound for the Orioles, and the pitch will be taken away for a ball. Good ball game. Murphy a base hit and an RBI. He and Giavotella had RBIs in the 4th. Home run by Trout, solo shot in the 1st inning. Gausman's delivery is going to miss. He's walked 1 and struck out 4.
Yeah, we've seen a lot, at least from the Angels, a lot of good 2-strike at bats. Ibar, Pujols, and then Murphy's little serve to left was on a splitter with 2 strikes. What we've seen Kevin Gausman do, he couldn't do it with Pujols and Trout after he got the 3-1 lead, is when he gets behind. I mean, it's pretty much just a batting practice fastballs. And then he comes back with 93, so he didn't want to walk him when he went 2-0. And they're not ready for it because they're used to 95 to 98. Go back into the count.
This is Kevin's 7th start, his 15th appearance. Ball club's 3-3 in his starts. That one will miss. Maybe inside, a little bit low. 3 ball, 2 strike count. Keeping those leadoff men on base. Done a good job of it this year, 70%. 2 have been on in this game, and make it 3. That is the 3rd hit we have seen by the Angels where they just lay the bat on the ball.
Actually, I'm going to add another one. I mean, that's 2 by Murphy, 1 by Ibar, hit it down the left field line, and Pujols poked it to right, and then Trout hit 1. That's 5. So 2 strikes, cover the plate, try to put it in play. He's got to throw a strike. If he doesn't, you go down to first base.
It's great hitting right there.
Well, that's not exactly the way Don Baylor did it, because he was a home run guy. But
Get you on base.
Yeah, well, you know, Dave Hansen's the assistant. He was a very good pinch hitter for the Dodgers, and then coming from the National League.
Here is Ibar. He goes after it. Center field. Jones Adam back, eyes it, makes the catch. Long way. Throw will come all the way in towards first base on that. Ibar is retired. Murphy's back. Well, let's take a look at our Major League Notebooks on our streaks page. Clayton Kershaw, that's where it ended. His streak ended on the very first pitch he threw in a ball game against the Pirates. Gregory Polanco led it off with a home run against him, so that streak is over. Now, Matt Shoemaker at 19, Cesar Ramos at 18 are both still alive, and they're here.
There is Matt Shoemaker, and then Ramos out in the bullpen. Of course, the Orioles know about him because he came over from Tampa Bay. Many appearances against the Orioles. So that ball's about as far as Ibar can hit it and keep it in the park.
Adam, plenty of time to get back on it despite playing shallow. Almost skipped away. Good play by Chris Davis. Little scoop on that with Murphy on at first base. Gillespie struck out, hit into a fielder's choice. Now 0 for 3 in the times he has faced Kevin Gausman.
Well, what he ought to be trying to do is what Parra did for the Orioles early on, which is hit a ground ball. Make sure you can look for a ball inside half. I don't know if he'll get one. And you can see Gausman trying to hit the outside corner and missing. So Rowe getting loose. Again, left-hand hitters, man on first base. Got to hold them on. Big hole over there.
Gillespie in his 10th game with the Angels. 1 home run, 6 RBIs with the Angels. Scope stays over towards second base, keeping that hole large. He'll foul it off the other way.
I take a look at Kevin Gausman. We talked about Heaney. They got 7.5 runs. Kevin Gausman, number 2, least amount of run support. Now the Orioles here going into the 6th innings have scored 4 runs for him. Last game, 6 runs for him. So those numbers are changing. Imagine how low it was before they scored 6.
That's our Jeep inside the numbers. Gillespie with a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Beach ball, right field line. Still there. Pitch is going to be away. There's the first one.
I always wonder about it. How do you actually get a beach ball close enough to the field of play to either throw it, kick it, toss it, whatever? What do you just bring it down and
they all bounce it in the air? They play with it around. They see how far around the stadium they can hit it in the air, and sooner or later it's going to end up on the field. Ball popped way up in the air to left field. Reimold's in underneath it, and he's got it. Gillespie retired. 2 down. This copywritten telecast is presented by authority of the Orioles and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles. 2 down.
So you stealthily bring it in and then you inflate it once you're at your seat.
Sure.
That's how you do it.
Much the same way you attend football games, with small packets in your breast pocket. 2 down. Here is Giavatello. He has had a double and an RBI, and he has popped out. He's got a 5-game hit streak now, batting in the 8th spot. Gausman trying to leave that runner over there. Not a lot of chances. The Angels 2 for 5. Orioles 1 for 2. Runners in scoring position in the ball game. 0-1 delivery on the way, and off the fists and back.
Yeah, you got to go to extremes against Johnny Vitello. Inside middle, go way in right there, a little bit late. So if you go from the inside quarter to the outside quarter, and that's the middle of the plate, it's a pretty good hitter. And there, probably 2-3 years from now, this is going to be a Kevin Gausman slider count.
0-2, runner off first base, and down the line it will be a foul ball. Couldn't get around on it, so Giavatello holds the count at 2 strikes. Game rolling along here. We are in the bottom half of the 6th inning.
Trying to do what a lot of his teammates have done with 2 strikes, shoot it to the opposite field.
Gosman's 0-2 delivery to him, base hit. Jones over there to quickly get a hold of it. That'll hold Murphy at second base. So Giovatello's got a 2-for-3 ball game with a double and a single.
Yeah, hangs the curveball and Giovatello doesn't miss it. Probably the right pitch, but wrong location, and so late on the fastball, right on the hanger.
So the Angels, sixth chance with a runner in scoring position, 2 for 5. Iannetta has flied out twice. He had an opportunity in his last at bat in the 4th inning. Had a couple of runners in scoring position, flied to right field. Now runners at first and second. With 2 down, Iannetta on a breaking ball that is in there for a strike.
And Chris Iannetta, 12 RBIs in his last 16 games. So slow start, under 100 first 22 games, and then getting to play and getting better as the season progressed.
Why, if you're the home crowd, would you have the blinking lights going on while your guy is at the plate? I don't know.
I don't either.
If it was the opposing hitter, I could see it. I mean, it's not right in his batter's eye, but 0-2 count, 2 away, and foul back into the screen. Count will stay at 2 strikes. Gosman a chance to get out of another inning. 2 left on in the 4th, 1 left on in the 5th, 1 left on in the 1st. Kevin's been able to find a way get through the inning, except in the 4th, where those 2 walks at the beginning of the inning would score. Oh-2 delivery down the line, right field, and that will end up in the seats. Good battle right here. Kevin Gosman with the advantage, getting those first 2 strikes on him.
The count where you're trying to throw something he's going to swing on it. It doesn't have to be in the strike zone.
Runners off first and second base. Iannetta will take it up high in a heater. 98. About as hard as we've seen a fastball come in from Kevin tonight.
Yeah, the curveball is not a pitch, Gary, that it's not that he can't throw it. It's already hung at this inning. You would think it'd either be something up and in and try to throw it by him, or maybe a split changeup, try to get him out on his front foot, maybe swing through it.
Murphy a base hit at second base. Giovatello base hit on at first. But importantly for Kevin, 2 outs.
Yeah, pitch number 98.
1-2 delivery on the way, and that one in the air, left field. Nolan Raimo going back. Raimo back, reaching, cannot get it. Takes a hop. Adam Jones will follow it up. It's a double and 2 RBIs. Angels on top by 1.
Yeah, fastball. I don't think he wanted to throw it down the middle, but that's where it ended up. And we told you 12 RBIs, 16 games. You can add a couple more. So it's down a little bit, but it's in the middle of the plate, and he just drops the bat.
Well, both starters end up leaving the ball game with a chance to be the losing pitcher. That hit will put an ND in front of Haney's name, the Angels starter. Kevin Gosman will come out, could not find that final out.
It's not going to happen. Some strikeouts early out of the middle of the plate. And that would struggle with his command. They get him more runs than they normally do. But a couple of bad pitches here in the sixth inning, especially the one to Iannetta. So he will leave, and then Chaz Rowe. Tuesday night 3-run home run. Other than that, very good with inherited runners. Only 2 out of 16.
Iannetta's on at second base, 2 down. He gets the 2 RBIs to give his team the lead. DeJesus, the leadoff batter, up 2 down. Manny Machado will still move in a bit at third. Rowe's first outing in his career against the Angels, and the pitch is in for a strike.
Yeah, hung a slider to Marcus Semien, the shortstop for the A's, and 2-0 at the time, made it 5-0. They would go on to win by that score.
DeJesus trying to pick up an RBI. That will miss outside for a ball. With the 0 for 3 he's had in the game tonight, now 7 for 31 this year against the Orioles. He has driven in, as you see, 27 on the year.
1 for 21 since he's put on the Angel uniform.
Iannetta not particularly fast out at second base. 1-1 delivery on the way by Rowe, and a check swing. They want to check the new. Tony Randazzo at third. So these teams trading leads. Angels had the 1-0 lead. Orioles tied it up. Orioles went ahead 3-1. Angels tied it up. Orioles went ahead 4-3. Angels go ahead 5-4. 2-1. Ripped it. That'll be another run. Parra will play it into the cutoff man with 2 down. Iannetta running. RBI to Jesus.
Yeah, so back-to-back games, the slider getting Chaz Rowe into trouble. He gets behind him, veteran hitter. Late all night on the Gosman stuff. I mean, this ball just hangs up and says hit me, and he does.
That's the advantage of running on the 2-out base hit. Ball was really stung. So 3 runs in here in the 6th inning. Everything charged to Kevin Gosman. 6 runs, 9 hits, 5 2/3 innings. Each team with 10 hits in the ballgame. Calhoun up. He'll go the other way and foul. Well, this series starting out exactly the opposite of how these two teams played in Baltimore, where they combined for only 14 runs in the 3 games, had a combined 5 home runs. You've already got 3 long balls in this game. 0-1 count, 2 away. Tough third out here in this inning. 2 RBIs by Iannetta with 2 down, and DeJesus another. Calhoun 0 for 3, couple of ground ball outs, and he is struck out. One and 1. That ball's going to go to center. Jones coming, will not have a play. Calhoun is on with a base hit. So Rowe turned his singles to the first 2 face.
Yeah, Orioles only one of the few teams in baseball that at the trading deadline actually gave away bullpen help with Tommy Hunter going to the Cubs. So it's really dependent on Chaz Rowe. And even Michael Gibbons called up because Jason Garcia, Rule 5 guy, had to be on the roster. So the bullpen is dependent on guys that really don't have much of a track record when we talk about Chaz Rowe pitching as well as he has all year long, because he's been very good. But the last game and tonight,
the MVP chant going up for Trout, who's delivered a homer, a single, has walked, and has scored twice. 2 on, 2 down. Rowe's delivery is in there for a strike. Though Trout is celebrating his birthday pretty well already. Brian Mattis getting ready in the bullpen for the Orioles. Major League leading 33rd home run. 0-1 delivery on the way, and that's going to be outside. 1 ball, 1 strike count.
And for Chaz Rowe, it's not about stuff, it's about command. And last maybe 3, 4, 5 out of 6, 7 starts, get behind more hitters than he did early, and then slider, it's a good one, but not when it hangs.
1-1 delivery on the way.
And then the other thing, Gary, is that the more they see of you, whether it's scouting reports, American League East, going down the stretch, you're going to play against teams. You got to be at your best.
For Mike Trout, he joins Frank Robinson, Eddie Matthews, Mel Lott, Ken Griffey Jr. Home runs. By the time you reach 24 years of age, Trout is 4th all time, tied with Frank, behind Matthews, Ott, and Griffey. Ken Griffey Jr. up for the Hall of Fame next year. 3 ball, 1 strike delivery came inside. He'll draw the walk, and that will load him up.
Davey Wallace is going to come out to settle him down. And
Albert Pujols with the bases loaded, 2 outs.
Well, you're not going to bring Brian Mattis, who's getting loose, in to face him. Maybe for Murphy, David Murphy on deck. I mean, this is a first for Chaz Rowe. Pennant race, pitching a whole year at the big league level.
Pujols has gone 3 for 10 with the bases loaded. 1 grand slam home run this year for Pujols.
Well, they already have 3 here in the 6th inning. Now with a chance to have a huge inning.
He'll take the pitch inside for a ball, a single, a walk, and he has flied out. Pujols with 1 home run against the Orioles so far this year.
Yeah, and Chaz Rowe is a guy that, 92 to 94 movement, but it's got to move inside the zone, and you start hitting around.
Pujols on a big cut, can't catch the 94.
Yeah, and then he gets that up and away. Pretty much where the Matt Wieters is sitting.
All coming with 2 down. 2 singles. The Jesus Calhoun, the walk to Trout. They'll load him up. Pujols will pop him up. Second base. Scope. And he's got it. Well, they batted around, but come away with 3. Could have been worse. They leave the bases loaded. Our Honda do-ups. Manny Machado, Parra, and Jones. Jimenez on the mound against Garrett Richards. Our coverage on MASN 2 at 8:30 with those extra presented by Jeep, and our game coverage at 9. All the access you need right here on MASN.
So Jimenez and Richards. Richards with the 11 wins, low ERA, and very low WHIP. Ubaldo will try to win his 9th game. So again, needs to get the ball down as though, throw some ground balls. And Jose Alvarez will come on and pitch for the Angels. Fastball, and again, not a hard thrower, 89-91, slider, changeup, curveball pitcher.
Alvarez working against the Orioles for the first time this year. So the Oriole bats called on again.
And Alvarez elbow problems last year, so healthy, back pitching for the Angels for the 8th appearance of the year.
And way up high and away.
Now again, low numbers, and keeps the ball in the ballpark. Not a hard thrower.
Manny Machado will take the pitch for a strike. Manny's had a base hit, flied to center twice in the ball game. Alvarez is on for Salas. He came on, worked a third of an inning, got a strikeout in relief of the starter and non-decision starter Haney. 4 runs, 10 hits, 5 2/3. Manny will foul that one back and no play. Seesaw ball game. Orioles 55 wins on the year. Angels have 57. Both battling for the postseason right now, more in a wild card than anything else. But chance to catch the Yankees remains in front of the Orioles, of course. The same on the other side for these Angels, who've been up and down in the West. That ball will be scorched foul by Manny Machado. There is Trevor Gott in the bullpen for the Angels.
Yeah, a little different stuff than both Salas, who came in. He can throw 97, 98. Young fastballer.
Manny a 3 for 14 so far against the Angels this season. And the way this game has gone so far, you wonder if 6 hits are going to be enough. Teams have combined for 10 runs on 21 hits. We're in the 7th. Then there's another base hit. So the Orioles get the leadoff man on here in the top of the 7th inning, and Manny's got a 2 for 4 ball game.
Yeah, Mike Scioscia is very well aware that, until you get the streak, that you have some guys that Orioles could do some damage against, and Alvarez is one of them.
The Angels bullpen is ranked 7th in ERA. Don't give up a lot of home runs, 2nd fewest. But the ERA up there among bullpens.
Yeah, 3.5 runs a game, and the Orioles under 3.
Here is Power, a couple of hits and a run scored. He's 2 for 3 already. And the pitch up and in for a ball.
Well, he's just contrary to some of the guys you see that come out talking about Jose Alvarez that are going to throw 93 to 97 and everything. I mean, if he hits 90, I'd be surprised, but he does going to change speeds.
Parra goes after one at 84.
Yeah, a little changeup. So it's not about power, it's about finesse.
Parra, with the base hits he's had in this ball game, extending his hit streak to 4 games with the Orioles. 5 hits in his last 15 at bats and 4 runs scored. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Left-hander's delivery to him in the dirt. Good stop made by Iannetta. Little knee walking right there, as all good catchers must learn to do.
Knee walking, I like that.
Vern Hoshite, God love him wherever he is. Former catcher and catching coach at the big league level, and a real good one.
He ran our our minor league facility at Thomasville. Here I broke in.
That's where my knee walking came from. That ball is stung Trout over. He got it. Huh. That was a rocket that was still going up. But Trout, plenty of time to get where he needed to be.
Yeah. It looked like he was going after it gingerly if Mike Trout could do that. Mainly because it's hit right on the nose. And that's going to get Mike Scioscia out to make a pitching change. And of course, he runs it down quite easily once he gets a read.
So the battle of the bullpens is underway here in Anaheim. That will do it. A third of an inning, a hit responsible for the runner on, and Gott comes on in relief.
Flamethrower, hard stuff. Came over with Houston Street from San Diego. His fastball, I mean, he got 3 pitches. Fastball 96 to 97. They said he can close in on 100 miles per hour. Curveball at 81, 82, and then a changeup that's in the high 80s. They got pretty good numbers, and at least at the minor league level, able to throw the ball over the plate.
Gott, young pitcher here in this organization, trying to fulfill the needs of the bullpen. He is not going to turn 23 until the end of this month. It's only his 3rd pro season. He's being called on with not a lot of work in the minors. Some 83 games to get it done at the major league level.
Yeah, high school in Kentucky, University of Kentucky. You know, again, one of the outstanding relievers in the college league up at Cape Cod. And then he signs. The next thing you know, pitching for the Angels.
Well, let's see what happens here with a runner on at first base. Potential tying run at the plate. And the pitch will be taken by Jones. Adams had a base hit and an RBI. He is struck out and popped out. Gott gets his first look at the Orioles and vice versa.
Yeah, kind of a very herky-jerky 3/4 arm delivery. All running all over the place at 96, 97.
Started his career out by retiring the first 9 batters that he faced. Made his debut against the A's on June 14. Called up from the minors. He's not allowed to run in 18 out of 22 appearances. Jones will chop that one slowly to third. No play. Oh, got him. Gillespie up off the ground to get the out at first base. Adam thought he had beaten it out, is looking into the dugout. Buck Showalter is staring straight ahead.
Yeah, again, nice play. Made a nice play on Reimold, but Reimold runs maybe just a tad faster than a long way to go. And again, the ball inside, so it's harder to get out of the box. This time Adam airing it out, and appears to beat him by a smidgen. Yeah, got a pitch to hit. Well, he didn't get a pitch to hit, but he got a count to hit. Chased the ball aggressively up and in, and the movement got him.
Chris Davis, a base hit. He is 1 for 3. So looking for the long ball again. Runner at second base, and the pitch is taken for a strike.
And normally the hard throwers can give Chris Davis a problem, but that's only if they can spot it on the inside third quarter of the plate. All bets are off out over the plate, especially down.
Chris started the day second in RBIs to Donaldson in the American League. Trout now with 33 home runs, the leader in that department. Chris has got 28, 7th coming into today's play. Manny Machado with a base hit, moved up to second on that last out. 1-1 with 2 down. And Davis, the big cut on the pitch, up 96.
Yeah, chased the ball a little bit out of the zone. He knows it. Even at 96, of course, that's hittable out over the plate for Chris. Just has to be down a little bit.
Chris has had 1 hit against the Angels this year in the 4 games, 1 for 13.
Now let's see if they go soft here out of the zone.
1-2 count. Machado, good secondary lead at second base. And Davis foul tipped that one into the net, and that's that. So guy comes on and gets it done. He gets the strikeout. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left on. 7th inning stretch time from Anaheim. Each team putting up 11 hits so far in the ball game, and the Orioles will go a little deeper into the pen.
So Brian Mattis comes on, fastball, breaking ball, curveball, slider, changeup pitcher. Pitching pretty well as of late. A couple of earned runs over his last 16 outings, 14 1/3 innings. A lot of strikeouts. So the righties, the number not as high as last year. Lefties lower. That's what he's become, left-handed specialist, but certainly capable. Boy, every spring they go, okay, we're going to let you start. We're going to let you get comfortable to your arm side, and hope you can give us 1-2 innings by getting both righties and lefties out.
Well, Brian will start here with Murphy, who started the 6th inning with a base hit. The Angels batted around in the 6th inning, getting 3 runs on 5 hits and leaving the bases loaded.
Man,
Murphy's already got 2 singles.
And he started it.
Murphy will foul the first pitch back.
Yeah, he took a 2-strike pitch. It just hit it right between third and short. Second time he's done that. Last time up, of course, it was a nice little line drive. The other one was a looper. Murphy
is 5 for 11 with a home run against Brian Mattis. And a big cut on a good pitch down and away, and an 0-2 count. So David Murphy leading it off, 7th inning. 7 left on by the Angels. The Orioles have now left 6 on base. Brian Mattis has pitched to him over the top. Rimo. One away in the 7th inning. A reminder that on Wednesday, August 19, all fans at the 7:05 game against the Mets get the Manny Machado, Jonathan Scope Handshake Orioles t-shirt. Celebrate these young stars' signature on-field greeting. Great fun to add to your Birdland wardrobe. You can get tickets at Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Brad Brock in the Orioles bullpen. Ibar 2 singles and he is flied out. Mattis's pitch will catch the inside corner. Ibar 6 for 15 off the Oriole left-hander.
Yeah, he's a better average hitter. Both of his home runs hitting left-handed was a 305 coming in against the lefties. There's a good breaking ball. Yeah, that was a vintage of Brian Maddux when he started, where he could come into righties, fastballs, break bats, and then go away.
Oh, 2 count. Ibar waiting on it, slaps that and foul, bounces it into the stands.
Well, we've seen that approach by a number of their hitters all night long. 2 strikes, protect, put it in play. You mentioned, Gary, they've been struggling at least. It's only 5 games, but about a little over 2.5 runs a game, so make more contact.
Ibar 277 lifetime hitter. Pitch will be taken inside. And a ball and 2 strikes on him. Ibar 278 last year, right there at his average, his career average. That's what he hit last season. 1-2 delivery to him, down to third and foul.
He's going to have to go get a new bat.
The hurry-up exchange. Mattis with a 1-ball 2-strike count.
Well, there's only one guy in baseball with more infield hits, and that's Ichiro. 22 of them last year.
1-2 delivery by Mattis, slapped up the middle for a base hit. He's got his third. 3 for 4. That one comes with 1 away.
Yeah, and if he doesn't flick that ball up and away, exactly where Ryan Mattis tried to throw it, he doesn't get this curveball. And when he gets it, he doesn't miss it. Slaps it and rolls it into center field.
He's had a 5-hit game for his high this season. Connor Gillespie will be coming up. Gillespie's 0 for 3 in the ballgame. Mattis with a runner on.
Yeah, I think Crone is going to come in and hit. He's been red hot for.
And with that announcement, Buck Showalter will be out to make the change. So Crone, a red hot hitter, coming on to pinch hit for Gillespie, who had the 0 for 3. And for Brian Mattis, he will work just a third of an inning. Surrenders 1 hit. Brad Brock on.
93. We saw him throw 93, 95 up in Oakland. And then the breaking ball, occasional slider, power changeup. What a surprise. Orioles trade for him year before, really, well, the beginning of last year, offseason. Comes out of San Diego and done a great job. That's a little bit high, but that's about the only thing. And so a little matchup with C.J. Cron, and as we mentioned,
Cron was sent down, just not getting anything done first of the year. 25 years old. Throw over to hold him on. Came back up on the 29th, hitting .333 since then. Has pushed his average from .204 to .260 over that time span.
They have 4 home runs since the All-Star break, 13 RBIs.
And there's one. Oh my gosh. Off the bat. Goodbye home run. You talk about barreling up.
Gary, I tell you, he hit early today. He was hitting them into the rock pile. I know it's batting practice, over the hedge, the hitting background in center field. And then you come up, you got some adrenaline running, and you get a great pitch to hit. I don't know. I mean, it's one of the longest home runs I've seen all year long. 93 and gone.
So Cron vying for more playing time. That's his 7th home run. He gets 2 RBIs off it, 22 and 23, and it is an 8-4 ball game. 1 run will be charged to Mattis, 3rd of an inning, a run and a hit. The other one, Brock. Cron and Trout have both delivered long balls in this game. That ball in the air to center field. Jones going back on Giavotella, reaching out and makes a nice running catch. What does this ballpark look like when compared to others? Remember, the team playing here factors in a lot of that.
Yeah, it really does. And if you get pitches to hit, Trout got one, Cron certainly got one, Scope got one. All of a sudden you can jump, but it is a pitcher's park. The Angels, I mean, their ERA is 3.01 here. That might go up a couple of ticks tonight, but not a whole lot, unless the Orioles mount a great offensive attack in the 8th.
Iannetta, and the pitch is in there for a strike. Iannetta had the big 2 RBI double in the 6th inning. Also had come around to score. He's 1 for 3. That one will be foul back. For Brad Brock, the 5th home run he has surrendered in 51 innings pitched. And we're seeing the long ball being used here in this game.
Yeah, they got Cron's home run at 456 feet. I don't know if I've ever seen a ball go over the bullpen.
That's why he was talking to Trout, because he wanted to make sure Trout knew his home run was a lot further than Trout's. Didn't get as many. And a pitch called for a strike. So Brock will get the strikeout, but the Angels will add to their lead. They pick up 2 runs, 2 hits, nobody left on base. Angels up by 4. bat up to the moment, any moment. In-game highlights, live look-ins, replays, radio broadcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Gary Thorne, Jim Palmer here. Featherstone comes on to play at third base as the pinch hit decision made by the Angels. And Mike Scioscia paid off with the first pinch hit home run the Angels have had this year, delivered by Crone.
Yeah, gets him out of trouble in the seventh, and then they had 5 runs in the last two innings for the Angels. Well, loves a hit here. Came in 22 for 62 with 4 home runs, make it 5.
And that's the same number he's got on the season. He has scored twice in the ball game. He reached on a fielder's choice. Even as the windup was going on, the Angels infield was shifting. Wieters, followed by Hardy and Jonathan Scope, put the shift on against him, batting left-handed. The delivery will be taken outside. So Gott's job now, throw strikes. Let your defense work, try and get some outs as the Orioles bat here in the 8th inning. And that one is in there for a strike at 97.
Yeah, the pitch to Chris Davis for strike 3 with 98. Only 5 walks in now 21 2/3 innings. So he is a strike thrower.
Got that one right at the knees, causing Matt to turn and question. 2 ball, 2 strike count. Back up into the second deck on the foul ball. Interesting, in the first series in Baltimore, we told you the pitching dominated. There were 45 strikeouts in those 3 games and 4 walks. That one's going to be caught.
Yeah, only
Featherstone
one
just came in, the third baseman.
Only one guy on that side of the second base. And for Matt, bad luck of hitting it right at him.
Defense on the money.
Yeah. Well, they tried to go the other way. Another quality at bat that's defensed for an out.
Hardy with the 0 for 2 is flied out, grounded out, drew a walk, stranded in the second inning. Gott's pitch will be up high for a ball. (1-0) delivery on the way. Kevin Gausman, pitcher of record on the losing side right now, with the 6 runs, 9 hits, and 5 2/3 for the Orioles. Haney, the Angel starter, non-decisioned in the ball game. Bullpen is for the Angels, 1/3 of an inning for Salas, 1/3 of an inning for Alvarez. Now Gott on.
When Heaney pitches, they, as we mentioned, 7.5 runs. They put 8 on the board.
1-2 delivery, an off-speed pitch. Ibar's got a hustle, gets it, throws it, gets it. Featherstone was going to cut it off, but backed off.
Yeah, nice play by him, because Ibar, the veteran, Featherstone says, I can get this. Nice little breaking ball here, first that we've seen from Trevor Gott. But communication such a big part, because otherwise they collide. Eric Ibar saying, I'll have it, and he does.
So 2 away. Jonathan Scope, 2 for 3, home run, number 8, good for 2 RBIs, a single, and he is flied out. Scope had not played against the Angels, was not with the ball club because of injury when the 2 teams played in Baltimore. Gets a shot at him here. Lifetime. He picked up his first home run against the Angels with that home run in the 4th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike delivery by Gott. Another chopper hit out in front of home plate. Got some sink on those babies. Ibar makes the play, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th with the Angels looking to take game 1. They are up by 4. in this game, and for the Orioles, one of the two players added to the roster on the day off. This is Jason Garcia, the Rule 5 that the Orioles did not want to lose, so they kept him by keeping him on the DL. He was on the DL with shoulder tendonitis back to May 11, went to a 60-day DL, and then had 9 rehab appearances with AA Bowie. He ended up going 1-2 with a 4.20 ERA, 15 innings, 7 earned runs, and 14 strikeouts, joining the Orioles for today's game. And the Orioles again were in a position where they had to bring him back or probably lose him.
Yeah, I saw the scouting report on his last inning the other day. I mean, it's 97, 98. It's something we didn't see. Talking to him, he pitched 3 or 4 innings on a couple of occasions. And he said his arm didn't hurt early in the year when he was pitching for the Orioles. He said it just couldn't seem to get loose. So he never got to the velocity that they saw a couple of times in spring training. Hamstring problem in spring training slowed him down a little bit. But I think the reality is he has the potential stuff-wise that the Orioles don't have a lot of pitchers that have that kind of natural stuff in their minor league system. So want to keep him.
May 10, his last appearance at the major league level. Works here in the bottom half of the 8th inning against the Angels. And the top of the order. David DeJesus, a base hit, RBI, is 1 for 4. Calhoun and then Trout will be due up against Garcia. Jason Garcia, youngster, he's only 22 years old, won't turn 23 until November. Shattered bat, second base, scope, the flip, and the out.
Yeah.
1 down. Well, as we promised earlier in the game, we've selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to O's Couch Cam. You might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile.
So we never saw 97 in the big leagues from Jason Garcia. All over David Jesus' fist.
Cole Calhoun, a base hit. He is 1 for 4. And the pitch will be taken inside for a ball. There is Corey Rasmus in the bullpen.
Yeah, we saw him last year. And 4-pitch pitcher. Looked like he could start. Injuries this year. So recently working his way back.
Pitch will be outside. Brad Brock worked 2/3 of an inning, gave up a run, a hit, a strikeout, the hit, a home run by Crone, the pinch hitter. 2-0 count on Calhoun. Trout waiting on deck. We see his delivery will be taken inside for a ball. Salas stands to be the winner in this ball game right now. He worked only 1/3 of an inning and had a strikeout.
Yeah, he got Nolan Ryman looking with a chance to maybe drive in a couple of more runs. Cruz one in, outside corner, 91.
3-0 count. He'll take. So they walk with one away, put somebody on for Trout. Only the 3rd walk picked up by Angel hitters. Orioles have only 1. Trout led off his birthday game with the 33rd home run in the 1st inning, walked and scored in the 4th, singled in the 5th, and walked again in the 6th inning. The major part of the ball game, and no surprise there. Garcia's delivery to him.
Yeah. That just flies open and then almost gets him on his birthday. The other factor is, Gary, as you know, he's a plus defender. He gets the ball so easily. He already, threw Adam Jones out. And this ball running in, and
Pujols waiting on deck. Pujols and Trout crossed the plate 3 times combined in the game. Runner off first, 1 down. 1-0 delivery on the way, and again riding inside. Wieters had to one-hand that one, and he'll go out to the mound.
Yeah, that was a slider that just backed up. It's not like he hasn't pitched in the big league, as you mentioned. What, May 10th? Well, it's Rule 5, and I always thought they had to stay all year long. I think it has to be at least 90 consecutive days.
There's some time period that came into effect this week, and the Orioles had to make another decision.
Because it would be very unfair for him to expect him to be as good as Michael Gibbons or even Tommy Hunter, who's now a Cub.
2 ball, 1 strike count. Runner off first base. Calhoun. That one in the air to right center field towards the alley. Over goes Adam Jones. He's got it. Calhoun was scooting back to the bag, and Trout is retired for the first time in the ballgame.
Yeah, it's not a ball that you know he's going to catch. Adam goes a long way to run it down. But call Calhoun saying, if it goes, I'm going to score. And he would have. And then because the ball is slicing away from Adam Jones, no possible way to throw him out and get Garcia out of the inning.
There's Albert Pujols. A base hit, a walk. His fly out and popped out. Scored in the 4th inning. 2 decisive walks back to back that started that 4th inning. Proved to be very detrimental to Kevin Gausman. He walked him. They scored. Murphy had an RBI base hit. Giavotella had an RBI double in the inning. Those were the 2 runs, the 2 walks that started the inning out. 1-0 delivery on the way, and that'll catch the inside corner for a strike.
Yeah, those were the only walks I have for Kevin Gausman.
Yep. Those were the 2, and he paid for them. 1 ball, 1 strike delivery on the way under the arms. Trying to stay inside on these power hitters. You'll see a missing.
Yeah, hasn't been able to get on top of that slider. It just kind of spins, starts maybe in the middle of the plate. You want it to start there and dive towards the outside corner.
2-1 pitch to him off the end of the bat to short. Hardy's got a force at second. That's where he'll go.
Ooh.
And it was close, but it's an out. So that will do it here in the inning. The Orioles now will go to the 9th. They will have 8, 9, and 1 due up, and they trail by 4. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by PNC, for the achiever in you. Angel Stadium here in Anaheim. Game 1 of the 3-game set. Orioles trailing in this one. Off the big home runs. 3 outs needed for the A's.
Yeah, Corey Rasmus comes in. Abdominal surgery early on. Last year we saw him Actually, very much like Andrew Heaney, started his first 6 starts for the Angels. Didn't win any whole lot of games, but all 6 of them 2 runs or less. So good breaking stuff. His brother, obviously, Colby Rasmus, plays for Houston. He's got 4 pitches. And last year, we'll see if he can do it this year, able to throw him over. Very 3-2 last year, 2.57 ERA, and strike out an inning.
And the pitch taken for a strike as the Orioles bat in the 9th inning. The newest Oriole, a double. Junior Lake picking that up in his last at bat. He is 1 for 3. The DH role. Off the end of the bat towards center. Trout. 1 down in the 9th. For every Orioles walk, Care First. Blue Cross Blue Shield contributes $50 to the March of Dimes. 264 walks, $13,200. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and more active lifestyle. Raimel will be coming out of there. He had a base hit. He went 1 for 3 in the ball game, and Jimmy Paredes will come on to hit.
Yeah, with Garrett Richards pitching tomorrow, probably will be the DH, so can help the Orioles by getting on, getting a bat here.
Paredes' numbers, outstanding work as a DH RBI producer, and will take the pitch for a strike. Credit's got to go to the relief work of Trevor Gott. He won't get the win. He'll only get a hole, but he had an inning and 2/3 of good baseball. Retired all that he faced, had 1 strikeout. Swing and a miss. Off speed at 84.
Yeah, a little splitter change. Well, now they will pitch around the periphery of the strike zone. Or at least attempt to do it.
And called strike 3.
Phil Cousy knows about the freeway traffic here. You talked about that he had a big strike zone, but this is not a strike.
It is in our box.
Well, I understand that, but it's, I mean.
Well, is the box good or isn't it?
No, it's not.
Okay, all right.
But my point is that hasn't been a strike all night long, but he called it. He thought it was a ball. He ducked it and go down back to the bench.
2 down.
Corey Rasmus is happy.
Manny Machado, a couple of hits. He is 2 for 4 in the ball game. And a strike on the inside corner. So Kevin Gausman's going to take the loss. He will be 2 and 3 on the year. Salas in relief, only a third of an inning work, but got out of a potential jam. He will get the win in the ball game out of the bullpen. Salas will be 2 and 1.
Well, Corey Rasmus is not wasting any time.
Oh, 2 count to away.
And then a little extra trying to hit that outside corner and missed.
Ready with a 1-ball 2-strike delivery, and that will be fouled off by the Angel dugout. No, Rasmus in with some heat on that one, and a 1-ball 2-strike count. Orioles got home runs. Jonathan Scope got his 8th. Matt Wieters solo shot his 5th, would not be enough. Trout got his 33rd. On base 4 times in the ball game. Crone, the big pinch hit home run, 2 RBIs. In the air, that's going to go to the gap. Nobody's going to catch that one. It'll hit right at the base of the wall. And Manny Machado's got a 3-hit ball game as he goes into second base with a double with 2 down.
Yeah, he'll run it right back into the middle of the strike zone. We've seen a lot of pitches like this tonight, and they get hit. It's a bullet. Might try a couple of steps to right center, so no chance of catching it. 21 doubles to go along with the 23 home runs.
That'll be his 35th multi-hit game and his 9th 3-hit ball game of the season. There is Houston Street.
Yeah, they bring Featherston in at third because Parra can bunt. So he's still way back. I mean, here he is. So and now he sneaks in. They're going to at least try to take the bunt away.
Parra, he goes after it down to first. It's a fair ball. Pujols, ball game over. Here in the 9th inning, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left on base. Trout on his birthday had a great offensive night and celebrates with his team. 8-13-1 for the Angels, 4-12-0 for the Orioles. Orioles go 55-53.